Well, I mean, this is like
Yeah, I guess I think that's like
moving up in
covering school.
That's why they want you to be quiet in the library. Now, please tell me that
Hey, oh, they can't hear us.
Hey,
Quick,
yeah.
tell all the secrets.
don't listen.
So here's what's happening.
All right.
Well,
I
like
don't
the
know
music
why
is
all of a
pretty
We
sudden
totally
I
didn't
couldn't
just
hear
forecast all the
that
stuff
was a little
we said
random,
that we.
quite
No,
frankly.
no,
Oh, I know
I'm
why.
assuming it's like we're able to start hearing us.
Because I muted the wrong thing. This is what happens. Yes, I pro streamer. Let me just say, I completely pro streamer. I want to be clear about that. I just accidentally muted my own computer audio. And that's why I'm like, why can I not hear anything? And the answer is either I've gone deaf overnight, in about the last 5 minutes, or I did not accidentally know what the difference is between a Zoom icon and an all speaker icon. So we're all good. We're fine, dear. Thanks. How are you? Good to see everybody. Welcome to day 49 of Adventures in Middle-earth, Wilderland Adventures, sponsored by Cubicle 7. This is called The Crossings of Selduin, as we continue to move into the very latter stages, the last several adventures, actually, of Wilderland Adventures with this amazing and awesome crew. I am super excited to have this crew back. We have got the full group today, and that is going to be awesome. What are you saying about me? What are you saying about me? Oh, man. Slow clap. God damn it. You know what, Rob? I don't need the Nancy Pelosi treatment, all right? You don't need to Pelosi me like she did it to Trump at the State of the Union, all right? I get it. I get it. I am super pro, and, only been doing this for 7 years. Anyway, it's a great pleasure to have everyone here. I hope everyone is doing well and looking forward to the stream today. Before we get there, I do have a couple of reminders about things that are going to be happening over the next couple of weeks and about things you can do to support us here. If you haven't already done so, please follow the channel. That is always appreciated. Exactly. One hand over clap, very snarky look. Exactly. What's up, Bokeron? Hello, Echo. First of all, please follow the channel if you haven't done so already. Check out the YouTube with !ArvTube, the Discord with !ArvCord, where you can hang out with us in between streams. The YouTube will let you see past broadcasts of the stream, by the way. !Arv tweets will let you retweet the stream. Actually, will let you join my Twitter as the push to 1,000 followers continues. And then !Tweet will let you retweet the stream, as Echo was nice enough to post just then. So you can do that. That is !Arv tweets and !Tweet. And not last thing, of course, on the website is arvaneleron.com. Thank you so much for the follow, Icy Kitsune. Good to see you. Welcome into the Arvanauts. Arvaneleron.com is the website where all of this information, by the way, can be found. Moving on to financial ways to support the channel. If you haven't done so already, please consider checking out our merchandise area, !Arv Shop, where you can get a lot of awesome stuff, including Adventures of Middle-earth merchandise. So if you're like, I want some awesome new drawings and displays and things like that of Adventures of Middle-earth, you can get that Terry Tunes did. You can get that at that link, !Arv Shop. Arv Treon will get you over to my Patreon, which is currently sitting at $3.19. That really is the financial backbone of the channel. That is where I get most of the resources and money that I use for the channel, that and Twitch subs, of course. And so that really makes a difference when I'm having to pay for videos, overlays, voice talent, and things like that. And so it really does help. So anyone who's able to support would be great. And it also, of course, helps the channel in general as we hit various milestones. And it helps you because you can get comments, critiques of your writing, character backgrounds written for you, and things of that nature. So please consider jumping on board with that. And last but certainly not least, that sub button right above the video window. Thank you for Terry Tunes and Aridinel for the resubs. I appreciate that. Right now we are sitting at about 57 subs, I believe, which is awesome. As I said, the floor of subs continues to go higher each time, and now we're sitting at a floor of about between 56 and 60. So the higher we go on that, the easier it is for us to be able to do lots of different things, and maybe even the possibility of partnerships viewership down the road, which is what I would love to have happen for the channel. So please consider supporting us by subbing to the channel as well. Now, note about schedule. This is the last Tuesday stream of July. So we've got Adventures of Middle-earth going on now. At 4 p.m., I'll be over at GOG with Pen and Pixels doing Pathfinder Kingmaker. I do want to, again, make that programming note that it is only going to be 4 to 6 p.m. tonight instead of 4 to 7 p.m. because I got to get out of here and head out to Gen Con. So I'm driving out to Gen Con, where I will be over much of the next week. There will not be a stream on Friday, at least not an official one. It's possible I might do one as part of like strolling around the exhibit hall or something like that. I don't know. That's possible, but there's no official stream that's going to be happening on Friday. The next official stream will be on Saturday, when we will be live streaming the conclusion of the Forbidden Library event called Beyond the Forbidden Library. This is the thing that was kickstarted earlier this year. We do not have the books quite yet. They're going to be done by the end of August, actually printed and out by the end of August or early September. But we are going to be doing the last of those live events in front of a live studio audience. Gen Con, the Writer Symposium, looks to be great. I have a bunch of things that I'm doing already sold out. I have a story building thing about writing and DMing, which is already, we have 90 tickets, all of which have been sold already, which is awesome. And I think something like 60 tickets have already been sold for the D&D event. So if you are going to Gen Con, jump on board with any of those. I would love to see any or all of you there. Next week, I have put up the schedule, the tentative schedule for August. And next week, it looks like we're going to have Adventures of Middle-earth on Tuesday. So it looks like we're going to have it next week as well. You're just going to have so much AME goodness, you don't know what to do with yourselves. And then we'll have Pathfinder Kingmaker, GOG Pathfinder Kingmaker again next week. So next Tuesday should look very similar to this Tuesday. And then after that, we'll get into the schedule. I'm not going to talk more about it now because technically July isn't even over yet, but I am trying to get a head start on it. And so the basic schedule, if you want to check it out, you can do by looking at !calendar, or again by going to arvanelleron.com and checking out and seeing what the calendar says over there. Otherwise, I am, I think, just about ready to go. So I'm going to unmute myself so the folks know that we are actually ready to go. This time I'm actually going to unmute them and not unmute my entire computer, which is what I did last time because I is expert streamer. And now I'm going to go right over there with the full crew. Look at this wonderfully sunshiny group of people who are now about to party like it's the second age or something in Middle-earth here in Esgaroth. But the full crew is here. We are ready to go, and I am very excited to have them. I will simply start by saying, and I'll talk more about this when we get there, I have this product. I don't know. I just happened to see it and it looked interesting.
Oh, you mean this one?
It is this is this thing about this is how you lose the time war. I went and I bought this at Barnes & Noble because we don't have a local branch right around here. So I didn't go at Indie, I'm sorry, but I did go to Barnes & Noble and I got this. And so this now awaits a signature of a certain person who is in this crew. And I think I'm going to have to, I don't know if Max is going to be at Gen Con actually. Is he? Oh, he's not. So Max was there last year. So I'm going to have to wait to get his signature. But the signature of a certain friend of mine who is in this group, that is something I will have to get in a few months when we go to Canada. But I'll talk more about that when we get there.
Actually, no, you can get it earlier. What is that?
What is that?
It's a Kindle.
What are you showing?
You guys do the best. I also, no, we're going to be, actually both Max and I will be in New York in September.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Whoa.
we have an event at McNally Jackson.
Oh, yeah.
And there is some possibility that's still developing about, is it the Word Festival? No, I can't go to that because I'm at Word on the Street in Toronto later on. But yeah, so.
Okay.
We'll get it signed by both of us for sure.
Yay. All right, cool. Cool.
It means a lot to me that you guys have the book. Thank you so much.
I got it this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, it's a book I would have gotten probably anyway, A, because of the subject matter, and B, because of the goddamn cover, which is just like off the hook. It's such a good, but then on top of it, obviously, we know how good a writer you are, and now as a member of this is good. So I'm very excited about that. But anyway, sorry, Trent, I didn't mean to jump all over introduction, but I was so excited to show this. I'm like, haha, I have this thing.
I'm also gonna, as you talk, relocate because I keep on. I realize I actually need an outlet in this boardroom that I am presently in, so I'm gonna go to where that is.
Oh, nice. Okay, well, as we travel through the undisclosed location from which Amal is broadcasting, that
a
will
blackboard.
give Tren a chance to introduce himself, our good friend Trendane Sparks, who has not written a book but is beloved by all, mostly because of the all the incredible voice work that he is doing. Like Tren is going to be, I'm telling you right now, like if Tren were a company, you would want to invest in stocks of Trendane right now because his voice is going to be heard in many, many places. I have no doubt we're going to be watching Super Bowl and he's going to be like, when you decide that the frozen tundra of I see it happening. It's gonna occur. You can shake your head, but the truth will out one day. In all seriousness, how you doing, Trent? How's life in the universe and everything, and who you playing?
I'll do color commentary for the Puppy Bowl. Definitely.
That's okay. Listen, can you imagine Trent's like, and now striding down the field, this Malamute is like,
a blue healer named Banjo.
Yeah, I can. It's okay. I'll get it. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, sorry. I don't know why people are deciding to call me. Don't call me. Never call me.
It's okay.
Okay, sorry about that.
It's okay. Every time I check my phone, it's like, you missed a call. I'm like, really? Who was it? And they're like, we don't know. I'm like, then I really didn't miss it.
I'm glad that I didn't miss it.
I wouldn't say I've been missing it, Bob. Yeah, I'm the Trendane person. Now, for those of you who are waiting for Amal to sit back down, and I keep kind of trying to burn time for her to sit back down and put her earbud pod headphone things back in her face, so that she can hear it while we make fun of her. Because shortly before we went live,
there we go.
Amal was like, "Oh, I need water," and then she said "burb," and I'm like, immediately I think, is it a red burb or a blue burb? But she was gone from the thing, so I couldn't say it. And I was like, just make a mental note to say it when she comes back. And then as she's wandering off to get water, I mean, undisclosed location, wherever it is, here's a clue. They have 4 billion freaking doors wherever she is. Because it's like, we're listening to listening.
It's like the opening to Get Smart. Dun, dun, dun.
Yes, exactly.
Like,
it's this huge dungeon full of doors. Vox Machina would never get through there. Anyway, so
I will mute it next time. I will mute
it was incredibly amusing. But yes, I would be Tren Sparks, professional voice actor and narrator of audiobook personage. And yes, there's a very good chance that you will be hearing my voice in things in the future. Like, say, for example, this live stream that we're doing right now.
Indeed.
Where I will be playing the part of Tawny Bear, the Beorning Hearthminder, who used to be kind of a very bad person. Not kind of. Used to be a very bad person. And is going to be faced with that very, very soon. And he is not looking forward to it. So he is holed up in the hotel room, in the inn, the overpriced inn, which, looking at his healer traits, he shouldn't have been charged as much as he was, because never mind. It's good.
I was gonna say you can write it off on your royal taxes, so it's probably.
Sure.
I'm amazed that River didn't just try to blag their way into.
She probably tried, but I'm sure that Stone probably peed on something.
But she seemed very content to allow the others to be like, hey, charge us less, and they're like, no. They're like, all right then. It was really,
was it because she was dead, guys?
Well, I wouldn't say dead.
In a coma is not quite the same. I'm just kidding. Yeah. We've been kidding. We've been telling Amal, because of all our travel, hasn't had a chance to get caught up. So we've been just giving her all of this grief about so when as we call it, the final call of the river happened, we what do you mean? Why? What is going on?
If you go back and you watch The Lord of the Rings, you can see Amal's ghost right behind the dude who's like, the way is shut. She's right behind it. You can see her there. So yeah.
That's why we lead off with the children's choir doing the because she's just there. One single tear rolling down. Anyway.
Yes. In the meantime, there's Will.
In the meantime, there's Will. Will,
his
who is
broken
back with
headphones.
us as
Broken
well.
so many things.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was gonna say is like we just keep seeing more things like cascading failure. Are you able to hear and see us? And
I have so many wires that I've broken over. These ones aren't working yet, but I think I will be able to get them working in a minute. You're coming from my laptop right now. Yeah, I'm good. Everything broke. So there's that. I'm gonna try and fix that. I tried to avoid this by not restart. Oh wait, it's all loading up now. I tried to avoid this problem by not restarting my computer. I felt like it needed to, but then a Windows 10 update would have sent me 7 years into the future.
yes, that's true. Against your will.
Exactly.
Well, sorry.
Aha! I fixed
Oh,
them.
nice. I didn't even know I was doing that. Good
Nailed
work
it.
by me.
I'll be playing Robust Daunton today. He's not very happy about paying too much for bed and board. But the man was very insistent, actually. He was quite a good salesman for the inn. I think we managed to get him down from 10 gold pieces to 9 gold pieces.
Yes,
Uh-huh.
it was quite an experience of haggling. Yes.
And he did encourage you guys to go out and win more money at the games.
Yes, he did. Yeah. There's the opportunity to win more, and so I'm gonna go bully some people. They were all really drunk as well. I seem to remember, and our sell was that we were sober,
Yes.
and so we could probably win a few games of absolute chance due to the fact that we're sober.
Mhm.
Made more sense at the time. Yeah, otherwise I'm all well, and that's all.
Did you mention who you're playing? I just
Yeah,
wanna-
I mentioned, yeah, Robust Staunton. He's
Okay.
the.
Oh,
king
you
of
did.
the-
You said you were right. Never mind. Yes, I'm sorry.
Like
You did.
usual.
I got lost in the middle of the fact that you were frustrated with how much it cost. Yes. You did talk about yourself. Yes.
I never forget to talk about myself.
In the third
That's
person, in this
the
case,
one
literally.
constant.
But no, it was I'm very happy to have Will back with us and again and playing Robar as we continue to push forward here into the land of this circumstance of Escaroth. Moving right along down the line, we have of course Terry Toons, who is currently underneath a large clock which is not functional at the moment. Because otherwise it would be too loud is what we're told. So Terry is with us, and it is always a pleasure to have Terry with us. How are you, Terry? How's life in the universe, and who are you playing?
Hi, I am good. You stole, I wanted to do a whole joke thing with the book, but then you came in and also showed the book and stole the moment
Came
from
in
me,
like a
so-
wrecking ball, Terry. Came in like a wrecking ball.
Look, it's been erased from my mind. Sorry. Hi, Tari. What were you
No, I
doing?
would have waited until you came on, and then
Aw.
probably at some point would have mentioned
Just been
oh,
like,
you've been on tour to promote your book. And then I would have been like, you mean this book?
It can still all happen.
There's gonna be, this is just product placement. This entire episode is gonna be like, you see a red bird and a blue bird on the top of the two contest poles, and
Oh.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm in the Netherlands at my boyfriend's place, hence a different background from usual. So at this point, you guys should be used to it, since this isn't the first time by far I've streamed from here. Also, yes, this clock is fucking annoying. Oops, I said the evil F word. I'm not sorry in this case, because
That's just German for darn.
for a loud clock.
darn.
Yeah.
Oh, isn't there this great old, oh god, was it Monty Python? I don't know, radio sketch about where the word fuck comes from, and that it came from the German word frickin',
Which
Which
means
is
to
not a thing.
strike.
which means to strike. Exactly. No, that's not a thing. It comes from a Latin word, actually. Anyway.
I always thought it was an acronym for fostering unlawful carnal knowledge.
Oh, yes.
Wow.
That too.
Is that true, or is it just one of your clever, I made this up?
I
and
didn't
left
come up with it. I wish I did, but I
Okay,
didn't.
okay.
I'll vouch for it even. Anyway, I'm playing Inge, daughter of Ida. She is a dwarf of the Arab War, and she's finally got a great homecoming party coming up. For she's been away for at least a year, right?
Mm-hmm.
From home now.
At least. I would say more than that, probably, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't know. You're the DM. You are the
Yes.
keeper of time.
It is indeed more than just a few years. That is indeed the case.
But yeah, she has a trusty pony sidekick named Lilleman, and she's a stonemason. And just to get this out in case it becomes relevant later on, she, like her family was like on the road her entire life because, exiled since no dwarves were living anymore at the Arab War. And then after the War of Five Armies, her family returned and she helped rebuilding the place alongside a lot of other dwarves there. And then she was like, nah, this doesn't feel right, packed her things, left, and met up with this ragtag bunch of misfits. And now we are in Escaros, which is
yeah.
cool.
I also want to emphasize, by the way, again, I want to make clear we are actually in Dale. We are not in Escaroth. We are in Dale.
Wait,
I just
we are in Dale.
I double checked it several times now. We are in Dale.
Okay.
I mean, Escaroth is south of Dale, and people from Escaroth are coming to Dale. And I think I mentioned that the merchant way leading from Escaroth to Dale is clogged with wagons and merchants and all that sort of stuff because of the celebration happening, the celebration of the fifth year anniversary of the Battle of the Five Armies. But you are actually in Dale. Yes.
We're in Dale.
If I remember correctly, Dale was also mainly destroyed or at least abandoned after smoke attacks.
Yes, it was 100%. That's
Escaroth
King Bard has rebuilt it.
People who don't know,
yes,
that's where Smaug died.
That is right. And so yeah, that's where they've actually rebuilt a lot of this. So this is north of Lake Town, basically, is essentially the way to look at that. So yes,
like about halfway through, like on the halfway from Lake Town to the mountain.
That's right. Yep.
Did we go through Mirkwood to get there?
We did, although that was just skipped through. We didn't talk much about it because it was you had protection from perhaps the elves on your way through the path this time back over to the eastern side.
Hooray!
So thank you, Terry. Though I'm very excited to have Inga back. Yes. And
also, like last time, she and Inga and Tony had a heart-to-heart at the end of the stream.
Yes.
Because Tony is a mite worried about being here.
So right, of course.
To watch like the last part at least of last time's stream.
Oh man.
Yeah,
I must have missed that, I think, because I had to run.
Yeah, that's right. If you get a chance to do it, it could be
because
valuable.
it was just the two of us. So
Yeah.
like, okay, we can't do any party impacting things, so yeah, just that. So this wouldn't even have happened if you guys would have been there.
We are so glad you weren't there.
You should leave more often.
No, it was good, and it was if you get a chance to see that last section, that will help sort of explain a little bit emotionally about what was going on with those two characters. But we will talk a little bit more about the reset for this session in just a minute. But always a pleasure, Terry. Thank you very much. And last but certainly not least, the aforementioned. Wait just a moment here. Product placement again of the this is how you lose the time war. Of course, our good friend Mal. Mal, welcome back on the wanderings and journeyings here, there, and everywhere. How are you, and who are you playing today?
Thank you so much. It has been a time. I have been on the road for. I was on the road for just about 3.5 weeks, I think. I went to, I flew to Vancouver, drove down to Seattle, flew to San Francisco, where I met Jen for the first time.
I saw that picture.
That was delightful. Then flew back up to Seattle again to teach at Clarion West, and then went from Seattle to Boston on a truly, I still can't really believe that this happened. I got a red eye from Seattle to Boston that got in at about 7 a.m. in Boston. No, 8 a.m. And then I got a lift to ReaderCon and was on a panel at 10, and then stayed awake the whole day and had a lunch party that evening and somehow didn't die. And it was amazing. So anyway, there was a ReaderCon party, then
Reed Mace. It was Reed Mace.
It was Reed Mace. Reader Mace, perhaps.
Oh.
I'll be here all week. Try the wheel.
Very good. Yes. also probably, dosing myself with 5-HTP on the flight was probably helpful. But anyway, but it was, so anyway, it was truly, truly spectacular. So then we had some events in Boston. And in fact, wait, when did I? Oh yeah, and then an event in Ottawa where I saw Brahms, which was awesome. Hello,
Nice.
Brahms, if you are here. And it was just a truly spectacular whirlwind tour of like it was packed with either book events or teaching, or both book events and teaching. And my co-author on this book, Max Gladstone, is the parent to a 12-week-old baby presently. So he's not able to travel around. So I was doing some of that, but then we wanted to have a bunch of events around where he lives in Boston. So we did that. And the Ottawa launch was wonderful. It was packed. It was it's been great. And the book has been getting a lot of really great attention. So I just want to seriously cannot thank you guys enough. This is that's the one.
Wait, you don't mean this book?
Oh, wait, Tari, do you have the hardcover as well?
Yes, I do.
How did you get it? I thought it was only in paperback and
I thought it was also paperback, but
hooray, I'm not gonna complain.
Hardcover.
I'm not questioning German bookstores. So
I mean the hardcover
when it comes to English books, it's always kind of tricky. Sometimes you can't choose which
Right.
version you get.
That's totally fair. I think the UK edition is a beautiful paperback, but the thing that I love about the hardcover is that it's embossed. The birds are embossed on the cover, so if you run your hand over it, it has texture. It's so pretty. And the thing is too that I'm sort of jealous of you guys because I don't have my author copies yet. So I have my UK author copies,
Yep.
but my US publisher was just in the midst of a move, and I'm sure things have been delayed as a consequence. So, but the other really exciting thing about the book is that at ReaderCon, on a panel during which Max and I were talking about how we wrote the book, we learned totally haphazardly that the book, which at that point was not yet out, was already in a second printing. So they have, it's super exciting. And I just saw I haven't talked about this on the internet because they made an annoying error as well. But the Vancouver Sun published a list of the best-selling new releases in fiction, and Time War was at number 8 in their list. But they had This Is How You Lose the Time War by Amal al-Mahtar and didn't have Max's name on it. And I was I don't want to share this. So I'm telling you guys, hooray, apparently, according to Book Manager stats in our first week with a ton of caveats, it was a best-selling book according to a list, but
That's awesome.
it's pretty cool. I'm very excited by it.
I just
Sorry?
noticed this thing when you take off the paper cover, the back is glittery and shiny.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
It's
right.
shiny and blue,
and
I was
blue.
gonna say.
And
which
red.
is it?
No, I'm kidding.
No,
I made
okay.
that part up.
I mean,
Yeah,
if
I
I
was
was
gonna say, it's as if blue has, I don't know, won the
No, it
time.
doesn't work.
But
Wait, is
anyway,
that a spoiler?
no,
I'm done with this crap. All right.
No, you see, if you take the cover and you rip all the pages out and read the inside of the spine, it's in red.
There you go.
Ah,
Wait, let me
outstanding.
check real quickly.
Don't do that.
If you put it on a turntable and play it backwards, then
Red wins. Yeah, exactly.
anyway, so I am Amal al-Mahtar, one of the authors of this book, which I am very fond of, and I certainly would. Oh, I also did it. Yes, I think I also saw Flying Enemy at the Ottawa thing. Just in case he's also. I haven't looked at the stream.
Flying Enemy is here. Brahms is not yet.
Okay. Oh, why is my stream, the chat is not running? I don't see any.
Flying Enemy
talking.
just said bonjour.
Oh, well, hello. Thank you again for coming. Let me see if this happens. I don't know, I might have to refresh that.
Echo's do you not see me, Amal? Oh, man.
I don't.
If you don't see Echo, that's...
All I see is from ages ago, people saying get hyped a lot.
Nutty.
No, there have been said since then.
Okay, I'm going to refresh and see what happens. Nope. mysterious. Oh well, whatever. So it's been a time. It's been incredible. And then as soon as I got back, I went to a friend's wedding, and it was beautiful and amazing. And then as soon as I got back from that, I realized that I hadn't slept more than 6 hours a night for the past ages. And this is not impressive to anyone who is a parent, I'm sure. But like, I just like, I had a couple of consecutive nights of just like sleeping 10 hours all the way through, and which never happens to me. And it's been pretty great. And then I have to get on the road again on August 11th to go to Worldcon in Dublin, and then some events in Glasgow and London and stuff. And then there'll be stuff in New York, and then and Toronto. I'm going to go to Toronto for Word on the Street on September 22nd. So anyway, lots of stuff. Yay! It would be really great to see you, Will. Actually, if things work out. I'll collect. You know, this will be the tour on which I get to see as many Anduinauts as possible.
Ooh,
I think
that's a good one.
Great. So anyway, what am I saying? So I'll say I'm a little frazzled, but very happy, and everything has been beautiful, and I'm very grateful for all of the attention everything has been getting. And yeah, right. I'm playing a character called The River, who is a woodsman of Rosgobel, and she and her faithful hound Stone are a pair, and I missed last session, so I have been laboring under, just the expectation that terrible things happened, but maybe terrible things did not happen, and maybe like Ash is still around. I don't know. Things and stuff. I'm sure you'll catch me up. Yeah.
Good stuff. I am very happy to have Amal back and to have this full crew with us as we get back into the world of the Crossings of Selduin. Always happy when friends and good people are having good things happen to them, and that has been the case here. So I'm very excited for that, and very excited to get back to telling these stories with all of you. Let's talk a little bit about what happened over the last session. Last session was eventful, I think that's fair to say. The conclusion of the sort of battle to defeat Vigland and company was ultimately successful. Vigland was defeated, but there was a cost to it. Robar's sister did survive, so Melina, who I accidentally at some point called Melania and then punched myself in the face 5 times over, and I'm like, this is where my mind is at the moment, I guess. Melina was saved, but Inga's friend Barinald, the gatekeeper, the old gatekeeper, was not so lucky. Barinald did not survive. He had made the journey to see her, and also because Hardfast had asked for all able-bodied warriors to come and help, and although they did arrive in time, it was not enough to save Barinald, and there were a number of people that died, not to mention that the land itself had been devastated, much of it was burned. While Vigland had been coming this way, he had also had his men put torch to a lot of the farmland surrounding it. And so the reason this is important is that the suggestion was that this was more than just, I'm taking over the kingdom for my own uses. Because frankly, if you do that, you would not get rid of all of the viable farmland in the process. Something else was behind it. Some shadow that continues to be referenced seemed to be behind what was happening here. In those last hours, some Bjornings showed up. Not all of the eagles, but one of the eagle ended up showing up as well. And yet there was a great cost to many of the United Free Peoples of Middle-earth who fought in that battle. Once it was over and the aftermath was dealt with, Melina stayed behind to try to start seeing the rebuilding, basically, of her family's ancestral lands. And Robar agreed with some reluctance to go with the rest of the members of his crew, of this party, to go off east and basically ask for supplies and aid from King Bard and to try to get assistance from them. And so Inga, of course, was going to meet with King Dain of the dwarves, king under the lonely mountain, king under the mountain, and while Robar was going to talk to King Bard. The river, of course, went along because she had been asked to do this as well by the woodman of Ruskabel, specifically Hardfast, who had asked her to be able to go across to the eastern side, and of course Radagast had asked the party to find out more about this shadow and to basically assemble more, to get more assistance from people, including many that were some of the greatest heroes of the land who were assembling at this 5-year celebration of the passing of Smaug and the Battle of Five Armies. And the only one who was the one who was the most reluctant about all of this, of course, was Tawny Bear, who was not wild about any of this and ended up going under great duress, basically. And when they arrived at this inn called the Drunken Stone, which had originally been called something else, the sign outside the inn actually shows the Arkenstone, but it is above a mug of beer. But it has recently been bought by a man named Shelid, who basically said this is what it's going to cost, because Dale was absolutely packed with people. So many people have come to celebrate this experience, and so you have got people from distant lands, dwarves, elves, hobbits, and of course humans, all who are here to celebrate, again, this massive victory 5 years before. But of course, there are storm clouds which continue to gather, and Tawny was subject to some of those as he thought about his own past. After a discussion in the Drunken Stone with Inga, who basically said, "Hey, why don't you come with me and come out and celebrate? I don't want to just sit in this room." Basically, Tawny explained what it was that had caused him to stay in this place. His deep desire to avoid being seen by people who might remember the deeds that he had done on this day. His violence, his anger, his rage. A person that in a way he would prefer to forget that he ever was. And so Inga had a moment herself of revelation, since there had been a big discussion between the two of them at various times in this adventure during Tawny's more pacifist moments. Discussion, yes. And so it was really a really wonderful heart-to-heart that the two characters had. So as we pick up here, I want to just sort of lay out for the party, just as a reminder, that there is an opening ceremony which is going to be happening this evening that is going to commemorate the fall of Smaug in front of the royal palace. And it is said that King Bard himself will be there to celebrate this and to give a speech and to sort of talk about it. In the meantime, there is a whole lot of stuff to do. First of all, there is a market, and there is a bunch of stuff there. There are the dwarves that have brought some of their material, the bardings. There are many other treasures and wonders that have been brought: clothing and jewelry, leather and woodcraft, smithcraft, weapons, toys, armor, funnel cakes, everything you could possibly imagine. Imagine Ren Fair times 100, right? That's basically what this is. And masks as well. And then there are also a series of amusements and contests which might be able to earn the party money if they so choose, because they had to use a whole bunch of it just now to be able to stay in the Drunken Stone. But there are a whole bunch of those that the party could track down as well. And so as I hand things back over to the players, Tawny is sitting in the inn, I imagine until such time as he says, "I'd like to get up and go out," so I will sort of note that for Tawny, or until someone comes back and drags him out, whether he will or no, I don't know. But Robar, Inga, and the river are now outside of the Drunken Stone and are deciding what they want to do next before, as I say, this opening ceremony, which is taking place this evening. It's early afternoon, probably about 2 o'clock or so, 2:30 in the afternoon, and it's a beautiful day, and it is again packed, lots of people everywhere. So what would the party like to do? The town, the world is your oyster, let us say.
I have a quick question first, just to kind of settle this in my head, because did Ash and River part ways after the battle, or
Yes,
were they accompanied?
Yes, and River parted ways. Ash stayed as well because she felt there was someone who needed to rebuild and also tend to some of the escaped slaves. Ash did, by the way, I should have mentioned that. Poor River. Ash did come through the battle okay. She was a little hurt, but not badly. So she was able to come through that all right. I did actually mention the fact that there was a long embrace between Ash and the River before the River headed off. And Ash is there rebuilding. And in fact, one of the things that Ash had said to the River was, we need someone with sense, basically, to go with these people and to find out what resources can be brought back to help all of us. So she kind of emphasized that to the River as well.
Okay, I just wanted to have this in my head because I think usually River would be quite attuned to Tawny's like feelings and stuff. So I just wanted to kind of manufacture a reason in my head why she might not have talked about things before now and stuff, or just as like giving him space. Mm-hmm. But cool. All right. So we're about to like head. So Tawny's still upstairs. If Tawny's still upstairs, I think River would probably want to check in with him first.
Okay.
Yeah, Inge would be like, no, leave him. He needs some time. Trust me.
All right. Okay. Right then. So you said that there are contests and things?
Yes, there are contests of all different sorts that you can try to track down. And there are basically games and diversions, and I can tell you some of them in case you're curious about them.
Yeah,
I'm happy to do that.
I am. I'm also thinking River would probably, if like, their purses were feeling a little light, that she might put on a performance or something to try and get some money, but
I have you covered, in fact, as far as that is concerned. So there are a few different things. There are, first of all, a number of games of chance, and actually this is something, Inga, before I get there, are the three of you, for the moment, Robar, Inga, and the River, are you going to try to stick together to go to some of these things? Or are you going to, because I'll tell you right now, if the party gets split, you're going to be split for a while because there are a lot of people in the streets right now.
Well,
so just letting you know.
Find a stable first. It's like the first.
Right, I think that was covered though.
Stable?
I think we talked about that. I think we talked about the fact that Little Mon was brought. Yeah, so I think you're okay.
Then never mind.
Yeah. Stone is still with the River though, obviously, and so and is kind of like keeping close because he seems a little bit awed by the number of people. River, there's a lot of people.
I think River is too, for that matter. I don't think she'll ever have been around this many people before.
Yep.
So I think she will probably want to stick with her posse as she kind of gets her bearings.
Okay.
Also, Inge is probably the only one who knows this town at least somewhat. So.
Yeah.
Right. Robar might have been there. Actually, you tell me, Robar. Would you have been there before?
He may have visited.
Oh, of course you visited. We met here the first, when the adventure started.
Yeah, he'd been there for a little while, I think, but I think only in the sort of Strider-esque sense of quietly, brutally sitting in a corner in a tavern.
Right. Not sort of out there hanging with the people, so to speak.
Right. He kind of hates it.
These are a lot of people, for sure.
He's going to stick with the team.
And there's a good deal of drunkenness, as was mentioned before. The Drunken Stone seems to come by its name, honestly. So if you're going to head to the contests first before worrying about markets or anything like that, I will mention that there are 3 different sorts of games that you notice right off as you're sort of heading around. One of them is a game of chance, which seems to be, you notice there are a few kind of people that are hanging around this one table that are playing what looks like it's a popular dwarf game. Which as it's called, Under Mountain. And it is this dwarf game that is basically dominoes played with runes. And so it's kind of matching up runes, numbers of runes to other numbers of runes. You definitely remember your parents having played games like this. You may or may not have played it in the past.
Absolutely.
I imagine that you would have. But they are playing it. You probably played it with larger stones where you actually like physically had to move the big stones around. But this is more like this is some portable human version, obviously, where kind of
Travel edition.
Yeah, exactly, the travel edition. So they are sitting
Does it
around a
come with
table.
magnets attached to the board?
Yes, exactly. So you hear a lot of gruff, deep voices, occasional laughter, perhaps an occasional curse coming from some areas where there are some people around tables playing that. There's a few other games as well that, Robar, you noticed that it seemed a little bit odd. There seems to be a large table with what looks like a massive wooden structure on it. And as you kind of look around, you can see that it actually looks like it's a maze. And there is a flash of movement, as if something is moving around the maze. So you'd have to get closer to see more of it, but you can just sort of see that from a distance. And I'm going to lay these out, and then you folks can just tell me which of these interest you. There is indeed a set of song contests, River, and one in particular where there are a few bards kind of standing around looking impressive. They've got the full motley, like the full outfit, the nine, everything dressed to the nines, and a couple of, frankly, lyres and harps that you think you would love to get your hands on. Like, there are some really, really nice instruments of various kinds there. And then there is also what you notice as well, all three of you notice that there is another contest of a group of people that seem to be laughing and joking with each other. And every so often a shout of triumph or sort of a groan of despair comes from the crowd. And it sounds like what they're doing is talking to each other, and you catch the hint of what might be riddles. This might be a riddle contest. So you've got riddle contest, song contest, games of chance, this thing with the maze, whatever that is. You got a lot of options available.
Axe throwing?
Yes, there is actually an axe throwing. Yes. There is one area that is cleared out and is kept with ropes. And you notice, Inga, that it's not people are crowded right up against the ropes, and it's not really, it's kind of a narrow corridor through which to throw the axe with a bunch of, but everyone seems to be okay. And you see there are several burly
laying on the floor at this point.
Yeah, nobody seems to have died yet, but there do seem to be a number of burly characters standing at one end that are chucking things at a very at a not as wide as one might hope, actually, wooden target with these axes.
Awesome. So River definitely be into both the song contest and the riddle contest. The axe throwing, I'm genuinely not sure how good River is at axe throwing. Like, she is much more sort of keep connected to the axe.
I would agree, yeah.
Sort of thing.
Agree.
Come on, you can do it. I challenge you.
Really?
Yeah. Your next drink is on me if you can beat me.
All right, I'll take that. I'm always happy to buy you a drink, Inga.
Aww.
So our funds are a little low. I mean, maybe we should actually
hold on there.
Robar's
the dad.
Have we done our budget for...
Then Robar buys me a drink, okay?
Hang on. What?
River is actually quite delighted by this, and is happy, like super gamely. Is like, I feel like I could learn quite a lot actually from watching you throw axes a little more. Not being in the heat of battle might be a little bit of a nice change for once. So I'm happy to do that, but maybe we should earn some first before we start doing that. Or we could go right now. I'm either way.
Up to you. I'll be here all day.
All right.
I don't see any reason to delay.
All right, let's do it. Let's start with the axe throwing.
Yes.
Why
All
not?
right. So when you walk over to the axe throwing contest, you see that there are actually 3 people that are currently standing there, apparently getting ready for the next competition. And you can actually see now that the wooden target has actually several targets that are on it. There are basically 3 targets, which are, if you imagine them as essentially 3 bullseyes, but like a Venn diagram. So they're all connected with each other. 1, 2, and then 1 at the bottom. And there is a sort of number crudely scrawled into each one, 10. There's 10, 10, 10 in each of the outer circles. And then in the intersecting sections, if you follow what I'm talking about, basically between two, they're 15. And then the middle one, which is where all of the circles intersect, is 20. And you see that there are obviously marks and gashes and all these things everywhere on the wooden target where people have clearly been throwing these axes. And incidentally, River, as you walk over, these are definitely larger than the axes that you wield, and they're also balanced much differently. You can sort of note that the weight is more sort of in the head of the axe, and the idea seems to be that you throw them and then create this kind of spinning effect to be able to actually land them on the other side. And so as you're sitting there are 3 people there. One of them is a large man that might maybe even be a Bjorning, although he has no beard. He's not quite as big as Tani is. But he's a sort of big, sort of burly character. Then there is a rather wiry man standing next to him, which sort of surprises you because it looks almost like someone who, I mean, the axe looks bigger than him. I mean, not quite, but it definitely is sort of a small person. But you can note he has has a shirt basically with a tunic with the sleeves have been cut off, and so you can see that he has these very wiry muscles as he kind of picks up his axe to throw. And then the third and final one looks to be a female dwarf, Inga, who is sort of striding up and seems very taciturn and quiet, but just sort of holds on to her axe as if she's used one before, basically, and actually has 2 axes, one in each hand. And there's also a pile of these axes that are sort of next to, right by it, and then a older man with white wispy hair and a beard is standing to one side and calling out as the crowd watches, and he says, "Welcome! Welcome all! The time has come for the next round. I see we've got some new challengers that approach." And he's pointing not to you, but the 3 people that are standing there, and he says, "You all know how it works. Those of you who are able to get this most points after 3 throws are going to be able to go on to the next round and will face any challenger who's there. The winner, overall, of course, is going to get this handsome prize." And he holds up, excuse me, let me get a prop.
A tin bucket with a bunch of holes in it.
There we go. And he holds up this pouch, this leather pouch, and he sort of clicks it, and it jingles most pleasingly. There seem to be a number of coins.
I was going to say, like, oh, what a handsome pouch in which to keep one's money. But okay, it has money inside it. That's
yeah. No, it's definitely got some, or either that or he's got some metal pieces. But one way or the other, something is jingling. And he says, "So far, we've had only a couple of rounds, and I've seen better throwing on the part of a young lad of 5. I'm hoping that we can actually get some real participants here. So let's see what we've got." And so the 3 sort of stand there. The burly man sort of, you can see almost that his kind of hands, he doesn't have an axe yet, and you can see that his hands are kind of opening and closing, and he sort of moves back and forth from one leg to the other as he's waiting. And then the wiry man seems, his sort of head darts around. He's looking more at his competitors, actually, than he is at the targets. And then finally, the dwarf, as I mentioned, is just sort of sitting there with arms folded, kind of waiting for her turn. And the crowd around is sort of talking to each other, and he says, the MC, let us say, says, "All right, random lots have been drawn, and the first one to go is this man, Rovin." And he points at the wiry man, and Rovin steps forward, and sort of his eyes looking at each of the competitors. And the MC says, "Now's the time to place your bets. Is this man looking as if he's not strong enough, perhaps got some secret strength that he hasn't let on? Perhaps you should consider that in your bets." And you can see there are a couple of bets sort of being placed, but not a lot. You get the impression that people are kind of like, eh. And so he stands up and comes up to the line.
River is totally going to like lean over to Inga and go, "Why would strength have anything to do with it? Surely it's more a matter of, targeting and precision."
I mean, look at how big and heavy these axes are. This is no dagger throwing or anything, or darts even. No, like with an axe, like, of course you need precision, but... you do want the axe to actually stick in the target. So
That's fair.
So the man steps up and he says, the MC says, remember, you get the best of 3 throws. Each of you will throw in turn. The one who has the most points at the end will win. And so, and go on to the next round. And so Rovin steps up and gets his axe and sort of prepares himself and looks, and then has this very kind of strange for all 3 of you, motion where he brings it back over his left shoulder, and then does this strange like diagonal throw. And when you first see it, Inga, actually, you think that he's missed the target completely. And in fact, there are a couple of people who perhaps have had a little bit too much to drink already that think the same thing on one side of the rope barrier on the other end, and they kind of pull back. But there's a hook basically to his throw, and so it kind of slides in and then lands kind of diagonally in one of the intersecting, not the center one, but one of the intersecting between the top 2 for 15. And then he sort of steps back and looks at everyone, and there's kind of a buzz, and you see some more bets starting to be placed. And the MC says, very well, that's 1 down. Let's see whether anyone can do better. Next up is this man. And he points to the large sort of bear of a man. And he says, he's known only as Ox by his friends. And the aforementioned Ox steps forward. Now, Ox does come by his name, honestly. He is a big dude, as I said. And he picks up this axe. And in his hand, the axe it looks kind of like one of the River's hand axes, basically, like in his hand. He's a big dude. Yes, Inga.
Like basically when the announcer says his name, Inga just like leans into River and goes like, yeah, I can't imagine why they call him Ox, and just like points to his nether regions.
And so you say that, and then you see him kind of like, he kind of glances over his shoulder, and you're not sure if he heard you or not, but he doesn't, And so he strides up, and again, his hand, he's got this just axe sort of sitting in his hand as if it were nothing. He, in a much more traditional sense, takes it overhand and throws it, but he does it with only one hand and throws it, and the axe goes really, like super fast. But it lands to the right of where the intersecting target would be, and so he gets 10 points for that. So he's in the target, but he's not in the intersection part, so 10 points. And the MC says, it's unfortunate, well, perhaps he'll have a chance to do this with his second throw. But now we lead, of course, to this one, and he points down to the dwarf, and he says, Canna Stonebreaker of Erebor. And so Canna Stonebreaker, who does look like a sort of a matronly dwarf, Inga, older than you would guess, comes up and
River like pets Stone and keeps him closer and not that. I'm sure she's very nice.
Yeah, Stone is kind of like he's kind of, you can tell he's sort of a little uncomfortable with all of this, frankly. And so she takes both of her axes, and the MC says, now remember, you can only throw one at a time. And she kind of just stares up at him, and then takes one axe from her left hand and slowly puts it to the ground. And with her remaining axe that she has in her right hand, takes it and, again, overhand with one hand only, throws it. But this time she doesn't go diagonally, she almost sidearms it, and it and lands right in the center. So 20 points. And there's this great shout that goes up from the crowd, and people begin to like cheer and sort of clap and, high five each other and all that. And money starts to, exchange, money begins to be exchanged between hands again. And the next 2 rounds follow very similar to this. The wiry man Rovin, with his strange diagonal throw, continues to do pretty well. Ox seems very strong, but not as precise as one might hope. And always there is Kenna Stonebreaker, who at the end finishes with these throws that are either at or close to the center. And so as we get to the last throw, Ox is clearly out of the mix, and it's just basically Rovin and Kenna who are left that are going to have any chance at this. And Rovin has just gotten his best throw of all, so he's actually landed in the center as well. And thus, he's basically got a 5-point lead, roughly speaking, on Kenna Stonebreaker. Moreover, his axe, because of the way that he throws, is over the center of the target. So it's basically blocking anything else. And he kind of looks back and kind of stares up at her and kind of grins, and then steps over to the side and waits. And so Kenna looks around, and her eyes fall on you, Inga. And she picks up the axe that she laid down on the ground at the very beginning, picks up the axe and sort of looks at you and then swivels back and looks at him. And then she raises her axe while facing him. And he kind of like recoils for a minute and then smoothly turns and throws it with her sidearm way. And the axe ends up literally cutting through the handle of the previous axe and lands in the center. And this huge shout goes up and Rovin kind of glares and sort of stares and shakes his head, and Ox has already kind of walked away, sadly. And the MC says, Kenna Stonebreaker, the dwarf, is the winner. Who is left then that will challenge this one as we reach the final rounds? And he kind of looks around waiting for a new challenger to step up.
Like push them both.
River basically like shoves Inga forward.
Another dwarf! A battle of dwarves. Perhaps in 5 years gone by, they worked together, but here they are enemies in the field of battle. And he says, what is your name?
My name is Inga, daughter of Ida.
Inga, daughter of Ida. And there's this kind of vague murmur from the crowd, like, daughter. Against the champion, Kenna Stonebreaker. Big roar goes up. And he says, will anyone else join these two?
Push
like side eye. River like like
oh, fine. To be sporting, River knows herself super outclassed and is just in this to more or less be a foil to Inga as far as she's concerned. But yeah.
So she steps forward?
She steps forward.
Okay. Yes, Hilness, this is the plot to the Amazon Lord of the Rings series. This is exactly, it's pretty much the entire first 3 episodes. So, good to see you, Hilness. So, she steps forward, and there is a moment's pause, and then the man says, and here we have someone who is clearly not from this region, and yet looks strangely familiar. Perhaps there is some other kind of blood within you. Perhaps it's woodman blood, I might guess. Are you one of that fine group of people?
I am. I'm called the River of Roskabel.
The River of Roskabel. Inga, daughter of Ida, and of course, Kenna Stonebreaker. And there's this sort of, murmur. And then he says, these 3 challengers will vie for the prize. Who will win this treasure? And again, holds up the jingling pouch of coins. And so he says, you may now pick the weapons that you choose. Most of these are of similar types, but you may choose one which fits the best weight that you would prefer to use. And he sort of points down to this pile of axes. Now, the pile of axes are all much, as I said, larger than the hand axes that you would use, River. They are definitely smaller than your axe that you use, Inga, but they are definitely weighted differently. And as you begin to pick them up, you notice that some of them are heavier, some lighter, and some of them have their balance sort of more towards the head of the axe, and some a little bit more towards the center. Not completely towards the center, but a little bit more. So it just depends on what sort of thing you want to use for yourself. So Kenna Stonebreaker chooses the same 2 axes she did in the last round, same 3, and puts them down by her feet and just sort of looks at you steadily. And that means that you 2 now can choose the axes that you wish.
River is going to, so River's going to probably first start by making sure that she can pick axes that are suited to her to her strength, so that she will actually be able to throw at distance and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So they're probably going to be on the lighter, smaller side.
Yep.
But and is otherwise gonna, like, she'll go for the ones that are a little bit more. She suspects that if the heads are heavier weighted, that they will do more of their own spinning, and she, being like absolute novice in this, is going to she's gonna pick ones that she feels more comfortable with, but also will kind of look at Inga and go, like, to kind of for confirmation of the ones that she has chosen, and it just kind of whisper, I just don't want to embarrass myself.
Okay. What is Inga doing while this is happening?
Like, Inga just, like, kind of chuckles to herself when she sees how unsure River is. This is, like, just, like, nodding to her, like, reassuring, like, it's gonna be fine. She's not gonna embarrass herself. And then she, like, tries out a few axes and just, like, picks the 3 that, like, feel the best to her, I guess.
To define what would feel the best. What kind of things should we be looking for?
Oh god. There is this one X type what we call Franziska. It's like the standard throwing X that they used here in Europe.
Okay.
So, like, I'm thinking of that one. Basically, it would be like the type of X she uses for working.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're able to find ones that are like this. These are decent. They're okay quality. Like, they're not going to make anyone forget, like, either of your normal weapons, but they're not bad. And at this point, then she the MC, once you've picked your axes, then asks you all to basically draw lots. So what we're going to do for this is I would like you both to roll a d4, and we're going to subtract 1 from it. And I'm going to do the same thing.
3.
So 3, okay.
2.
2, all right. And let's see what I got.
Well, that leaves 1. So.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. So what that means is that Inga, you will have the choice in terms of who gets to go first in this round, and you can decide if you want to go first or second or third.
I think I want to go second.
Okay. So the next person highest was the River, and so the River gets to choose now if she wants to go first or third.
River's gonna go third.
Okay. So
She just wants to get, like, some more watching in.
Okay. So Kana Stonebreaker is the person who then goes first. And the MC sort of says, now the time has come for you all to place your bets. Which one of these 3 challengers will be able to take home this prize? And so money starts to pass hands. I should point out, by the way, Robar, just as a quick note, you could, if you wish, place bets on this if you want. You don't have to, but you could do that if you like. You're muted, I think.
In which one? Like, we should have all 3 participated. And, like, if Tony would have been here, then one of us could have taken a
muted,
dive, and we would have taken away all the
Yeah.
money.
Oh yeah, and then Inga should have thrown. Yeah, and I'm definitely place a bet on Inga if I can.
Okay. So you're going to place a bet on Inga. How much do you want to try to place?
I have 1 gold piece to my name.
Okay. So you can,
as far as I'm tracking, yeah. So
so that's fine. So you can bet the 1 gold piece. So right now the odds that they have placed are, they basically have they have I've completely forgot the name. Kana, there we go. I was like, what the heck is the name of the person I just made up? Kana Stonebreaker is the person who is considered the favorite. And so the odds there are basically 2 to 1. So every 2 coins that you place, you'll get 1 back if she wins. So in this case, if you placed a coin on her, you would get essentially whatever works out to 5 silver. I don't remember. I'd have to look at it for if she were to win. For Inga, that situation is reversed. So her odds are 2 to 1, which means if you put down 1 coin, you will get 2 back if she ends up winning. River right now is working at 1 to 4. So it's if you put down 1 coin, and if she wins, it's 4. So if you put down your 1 gold coin and Inga wins, you'll get 2.
you know, let's play the safe odds. I feel like Robar would place the bet on Inga.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, River would want to place it on Inga. Like, what fool? Don't place it on Inga. I have no idea what
I
that's
find
for.
100 gold
Pressure.
on the river now.
There you go. So she's going to do that. So all right. So you place the bet down, and you see other bets sort of going down and talking about them and all that stuff. Then Kana steps up to the line, and she waits and sort of sights very carefully, and then does her side-armed throw, and this ends up landing in the 10. So it's actually one of the lower ones, which is in the bottom circle. So her axe is currently sitting in the bottom circle, and she has 10 points to begin with. And now that means that it is Inga's turn next. So you've got the bottom circle currently occupied by an axe, which has 10 points in it.
What is the roll we're gonna make?
So the roll is going to be you're basically making what is the equivalent of, well, actually, you can pitch it one of two ways. In the case of Inga, she can make a strength check or an athletics check if she wishes for this. However, because you do not typically throw these axes, you have done some before, but not.
Well, I mean, like, she's like, I'm assuming like the idea was that I asked specifically if there's axe throwing because I assume she has been to a bunch of fairs in her life.
That's
and
right.
there's a lot of axe throwing.
So you're not at a negative is the point.
Yeah.
So you can make your normal roll. The river, I think, is going to be at a negative because this is not the way she normally uses these things, but you're not going to be at a negative when you do this. But you're also not going to get any huge bonuses or benefits, basically. So you can make, you could make a dexterity check, but in this case, you're going to be doing strength.
So not athletics, just strength.
Yeah, just strength, actually, not athletics,
Oh.
yeah. Yeah, I know I said athletics, but I was wrong. Just strength.
Oh,
Athletics is strength.
Well,
yeah, but like I get,
you get
like
a bonus, though.
proficiency bonus.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, so in this case, it'd just be strength.
Okay. Oof. 10.
Okay. So with that 10, I would say that you, and I should have asked this before, but because it was a fairly open area, were you aiming for the top circle, the right circle, or the middle? Directly the middle. Because that would have an effect. If you just roll normally, it means you just throw it and see what happens. But you could also aim for one of those areas, and then that will affect the sort of
always the
negatives you
middle.
have. Always for the middle. Okay. So technically, then that would have been at a -2 because the middle is like, hard to get to. So, but that's okay because it doesn't mean that you miss the target. It just means that you don't get to the middle. So your axe then ends up hitting the right circle, which means that you also have 10. So you're currently tied with Kane for 10. And now we have the River who's going to step up. Now, River, you also are going to be, in this case, you are going to be using strength as well, not dexterity, because normally you would use your dexterity for your axes, but this is a different kind of thing, so it's a little weird. But you also get to decide, again, whether you want to aim for the middle or whether you want to aim for the outer circles. Right now you're doing this at a -2.
Right.
If you aim for the middle, it's going to be another -2.
No.
But, of course, if you hit it, you get a higher score. So
right. I was actually gonna ask whether she could use athletics because that is the closest approximation she has to to the activity, like the just generally like throwing things, targeting things, that sort of situation.
Yeah, I'm going to say no.
Okay.
This is a case where this is very different from the way you would normally do things, and
Well, it's different from the way I'm only arguing that like I say, it makes perfect sense for her to be at a negative on it. It just, she's not fighting. She is doing what's a game.
Oh,
basically,
yeah, for
right?
sure.
So
For sure.
it's already different in that sense. But if it it feels like there's a really natural connection between throwing an axe at a target and throwing a ball at a target. It's different things, but it feels like it's the same skill set.
For sure it is, but I would say that it's not a skill set that you spend all that much time on. The woodmen of Roskabel spend most of their time not throwing things at targets of any kind, but actually whittling. I mean, you are much more sort of melee-style creatures. You don't even use a bow. So that's the theory. You're right. I mean, 100% that you would not just be like, how do you throw things? Like, you've obviously done that, but it's not something I would say that you've spent a great deal of time on. Yes.
I'm just realizing I have weapon proficiency. Does that make a difference?
No, not for this, because you're not trying to hit in combat. You're trying to throw at
Right.
a wall. So not quite the same thing.
Well, about the targeting thing, like she's just going to try and make sure that it's on the board. So
Okay.
she's not aiming for us. Like, to me, it makes more sense that if she is aiming for the center, she is more likely to hit something. So it's not like, does that make sense? Whereas if she
You're
was
just trying to get
hit
it on
at
the
end.
board. Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah.
I get it. So, okay, so then you're just going to do this then at, what did I say, -2, I think is what I said.
Yeah.
You're just going to do it at -2 then because you're not trying to do anything special.
Okay.
Because the center area also is smaller than everything
Right.
else. So that's why, yeah.
Okay. So just a straight strength roll.
Yes, indeed. And by the way, chat, inspiration does exist. You know, you've got it. I'm just letting you know. You don't have to use it here. You may want to save it for a little bit later in the competition
Yeah.
or another competition, but I'm just letting you know that this is the last July tabletop game. So use them or lose them, basically.
Inspiration.
And okay. Not a save, though, a check.
Oh, sorry. Let me do that again then. I didn't think I was doing a save. I thought it was rolling on the board, but oops.
You did
Sorry.
save against hitting yourself with the axe.
Oh, I'm such an... Okay, sorry. No, I was just in the total wrong place. Strength.
Okay, so we're looking at a 10. So you're actually, your axe sort of and hits the one remaining circle that does not have an axe yet sitting in it. And so you also hit that and are now sitting at 10. And so the MC is like, there's a very close competition. I can already see it's going to be. And they kind of, everyone smiles and nods and kind of, begins to sort of chat with each other. And he says, very, very close, very close. All right, what will happen then in round 2? And he looks at Connie and he says, all right, can you stake your claim to being the champion? And so Connie picks up the second axe, which was sitting on the ground. And I believe I mentioned that she threw the first one with her right hand. This one she actually throws with her left. And she throws with the left sidearm and it lands above her previous axe in the intersecting circle. So it's now sitting at 15. And so this big shout goes up as everyone sort of takes note of where she's placed. And there's some people who kind of are pushing each other and kind of like laughing and grinning. And, again, money is starting to, you see bills going back and forth, paper bills and coins and stuff being passed back and forth. And the MC says, it'll be very difficult, I see, to unseat this champion. But does one of her fellow dwarves have what it takes to do it? And kind of looks back at you, Inga, as you are again second to go. So you've still got a couple of intersecting areas left that you could aim for, or of course the center square, and those are minuses if you do that.
No, I'm gonna pick one where I don't get a minus.
Okay.
And like Inga basically that's like the whole cracking her neck thing at this one.
Yeah.
Just, like, flexes a bunch, grabs the axe, and then throws.
Okay.
Oh, it helped. 19.
There it goes. All about that. So,
Yes!
and you intersect, hit one of those intersecting areas as well, solidly. So you get another 15, and this big shout goes up, and the MC is just like, oh, wow. And everyone sort of begins to you notice that more of a crowd is like gathering, and there's there's a couple of people you can see now that are outside the rope barriers on the side of the throwing lane that are basically trying to hold people back, obviously, and it's not super successful, so the rope is kind of curving in a little bit and then back out as the crowd moves. And the MC says, yes, the battle of dwarves is definitely commenced, but what of the woodmen? Will they have something to say about this? And sort of looks at you, River.
River is really enjoying herself. She's kind of like quite delighted in this and is trying to, while the others is being very intent about everything, like watching the two others' technique as they're throwing and kind of hefting her own weapons and trying to get a sense of the way that it balances and stuff like that. And just kind of rolls her shoulders back a little bit and not trying to do exactly what Inga did, but just kind
Literally
of
exactly the same.
just and stretch a little bit.
Don't try too hard. All my own is on this.
I was standing back. Remember, relax. Don't feel pressured.
She kind of like plants her feet a little and takes the axe over her shoulder and is still just kind of she's still sort of feeling her way technique wise. So she is not going to try to target anything specific. Just try to make it a good throw at the board, basically.
Okay. All right. So I think it will be the same. So the same thing with the same negative. No more or fewer negatives, I would say, to this. All right. So you
same
throw.
sort of okay.
Yeah, basically the same. So you throw, and it's sort of like. And this one does not land in an intersecting section, but it does land in one of the regular circles. So you get another 10 points.
River is like super delighted about this. Incidentally, she's like she is clearly learning a new skill and has managed to successfully do the same thing that she was trying to do twice, and is just like so happy about this.
Yeah. So,
like she turns this like super like grin at Inga, like this is really fun, actually.
And I imagine, I was gonna say, Robara is probably like, good, just not too much.
Okay, that was okay, not too good.
So, the people sort of, and Kane and Inga, and then everyone sort of looks around, and Kane looks at Inga and looks at you. And again, one of the things you notice is again how quiet Kane is. She's not like glaring, but she's just very, still waters all the time. And so as the third and final round begins, the MC says, now we will see whether or not the champion can set the standard that is needed. And he kind of nods to Connie, and she steps forward with her, again, right hand, picks up the final axe. This is the same axe that she, cut through the axe in the previous one. And, of course, currently right now she's sitting at 25. And so she sort of waits and then looks and draws back and then sidearms the axe and dunk and lands dead center of the exact board. And everyone's like, "Hurrah!" And everyone like cheers and all that. And a 20, the MC calls out. A 20. That's going to be different. Yeah, a natural 20. That's going to be difficult. Now we are sitting at 45. And they said the question is, if Inga's going to catch up, it's going to be very difficult. Your only chance is to hit that center. Will she be able to do it? And he kind of points at you.
Before Inga does anything, River is going to lean over and with the full kind of fulsomeness of her joy in this activity, just basically whisper to her, "You've got this, Inga," in a particularly inspiring way. I'm
already inspired. Don't waste it.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm inspired unless it expires after.
Well,
session.
I mean.
No, not after session, just after a month. So it'll be used up now.
It's not inspiration though. It is a gift of 1d6.
Ooh, neat. I'll take it. Thank you. Okay.
The MC's like, aha, I see some performance-enhancing songs are being used. No, just kidding. Just joking.
Scandalous.
Exactly. There's a big asterisk by this competition. Okay. All right. So that means you'll get to roll and do it. All right, Inga. So do we need an inspiration? I don't think...
I am using my inspiration.
She's using her inspiration. So not yet, Kerflop, but soon.
Quick question, though.
Yeah.
I'm just noticing a discrepancy on my sheet. I'm pretty sure what's happening here is that I'm supposed to be gifting a warden's, one of my warden's gift dice.
Right.
But what's written here is 1d6, but I think that was before leveling up, because what it says now is that the warden's gift die is at 1d8.
So that's right. So then you would get a 1d8. That's
okay,
what that would be.
You get a 1d8.
So 1d6 would be previous. That would if it's a warden gifts dice, then whatever the die is at is what they would get.
Cool.
Okay.
All right, so you get a 1d8 instead.
Okay, so
Just mark and make sure you used it though, Amal. Okay.
Yeah, I
that
did.
it's-
Yeah.
okay,
I
alright.
hadn't gone back up after
Cool.
whatever short rest and stuff. So yeah.
Got it. You've got an
So-
inspiration in the chamber. It'll get used, Kerflop. I'm pretty positive. Okay.
basically what happens is like that scene from Brave, where like Merida does the archery competition and like time slows down.
Right,
and,
right, right. Bullet
know, that's
time or
what-
arrow time. Right.
Yeah.
Axe
Axe
time.
time.
Yeah.
So
All right.
for strings,
I assume you're going for the actual center because you kind of have to. Right?
yes, absolutely.
Okay. So this is going
Like,
to be
I'm
at a
gonna
-2.
destroy this target.
This is going to be at a -2, but you will have inspiration plus the river's 1d8. Does that, and I need to double check, does that need to be, can she see the die roll before using it or not? I need to,
It doesn't say on my thing.
let me confirm before you make the roll.
So it's. It should be. Let's see. So. It just says, yeah, you can inspire others through stirring words, through music, or by your presence alone. Can gift 1d8 to person of choice. It's under Warden's gift.
It can wait until after you roll the d20, but before the lore master says whether it succeeds or fails. So you can make the roll, Inga, and then decide if you want to use the gift, but before I say what it does. So
Okay.
you roll the die and then be like, whatever that is, you can decide if you want to use it or not.
Okay, good.
But you're gonna roll the natural 20 anyway, so.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, now you jinx it. Great. Okay, with inspiration.
Yes.
Oh no.
Oh no!
Well,
What?
No.
so that means 8. So that's a 6 that we're looking at.
Yeah. plus-
But roll an 8. Roll an 8.
Do I also get inspiration on that D8?
On the.
I feel like it
no.
should have. Oh well.
So that's a 12.
Okay. So the axe, and it hits, but it does not hit quite in the center. It hits in one of those intersecting areas. And so Inga gets a 15 again. And that means you've got 10, 10, 10, 15. So that means that right now, Kane is at 45. Inga right now is at 40.
And River can only get to 40.
That's right. So yeah, it depends. So basically, River is going to step up and take her throw, and Robar, you can see your coin melting away.
I don't suppose there are bonus points awarded for like style or anything.
Does not appear to be that way. No.
All right. Well, River has nothing to lose at this point, and so decides that she's gonna try and go for the center with her roll anyway.
Okay.
And so she just kind of like, patting on the shoulder and refocuses on her own thing and just whatever. It's all in good fun.
So this is going to be at a -4 because you got -2 normally and then -2 for the center. So.
Yep.
All right. Let's see what we get.
Here we go.
In before the 20. So that's a -1. So you're like, I've got this, and then you
Flies
throw it
backwards into the crowd.
Yeah, I was just gonna say. So you throw it that way, and so as you're throwing it, Stone right at the last second is kind of like whirl and like bumps into your leg, and you're like, what? And so your axe goes way off. So the axe goes flying and lands right on the edge of the thing next to this guy. So like the handle is just sort of like right next to this guy, and there's a long pause, and then the MC says, "Well, never a dull moment. Yay for Kane!" So everyone then starts cheering and laughing. The person whose handle does that Homer Simpson thing where he just melts back into the crowd, like this way.
River takes a super exaggerated bow of like, oh well.
And
You could
so
have just killed the barker. You could have just taken the pouch of coins and left.
yeah, that's true. It would have been fine.
If only we were a less upstanding and righteous crew.
That's the problem. You're too righteous. And so the MC slaps you all in the back and, well fought, but the winner today is Kane Stonebreaker. And a big shout goes up. People pat her on the back. And Kane Stonebreaker walks over, and as you're sort of sitting there, Robar looking rather down in the mouth. And the River sort of looking a little... I don't know. How are you looking, River? Like what?
I mean, the River's like still really delighted by it. Like she's a little embarrassed by the last throw, but it's mostly like, I think actually she'd kind of like if Kana is there, she'd want to shake her hand and be like, yeah,
too.
yeah, she'd be like, just genuinely to be like, your technique is amazing, and it was a pleasure to watch you throw and stuff.
And she nods solemnly, and she shakes your hand and Inga's hand, and then Inga she goes over to the board and takes the axe that she brought to the center, that she threw into the center, and brings it over, and wordlessly hands it to you, and then disappears into the crowd.
Cool.
Is that like a special axe, or what's going on?
It seems like it. The way that I would describe it is, it looks, the outside of it looks kind of like it's got a wooden handle, and the axe head itself is somewhat rusty, and it looks like nothing, and yet you can see many notches and cuts and sort of nicks and so forth in the blade. And almost certainly you can see that many of those have blood. In fact, if you had to guess, you'd say that this has definitely been used for more than just throwing at, wood boards in the past.
Wait, so she brought her own axe to this? Isn't that against...
Well, it's not clear if it was her axe or if it was just the winning axe that she threw. You don't know. But definitely this axe, whatever it was not just used for this purpose. So you don't know if there's anything, you don't know about any kind of like master qualities about it, but it definitely throws well. That's for sure.
Okay. Well, Inga just like looks around and is like, do I have to give this back, or?
The MC doesn't seem to be paying any attention. He's paying out bets.
Like she's basically waiting for that and just like puts it, like sticks it to her backpack or whatever.
River's like, cool. Maybe I can keep practicing with this.
No, I got it as a I can't play with my toys.
All right, before I ask the party the next contest, if any, or the market stuff they want to do, I want to jump back to Tani quickly, and I will say, first of all, welcome to everyone who is here watching day 49 of Adventures in Middle-earth. You believe our next session is going to be day 50? 50 days of Adventures in Middle-earth. But we are enjoying ourselves here in the crossings of Selduin with axe-throwing competitions and tests of strength and fortune and valor. But welcome, everybody.
And yet more than a year.
That's true. Makes one wonder how these things work together. But thank you all for being here, and please spread the word about the show. That leads me back to Tani. So Tani, you are still in your in the room in the inn. What are you going to be doing while you're there? I'm sure you're ruminating, but beyond that.
Yeah. He just keeps regurgitating, chewing a little bit and swallowing it again. Not that kind of ruminating. Sorry. Well, while I'm doing this, we'll read Zoom chat. What? No, he's basically got like some incense there, and if I remember correctly, the drastically overpriced room also included pretty much food, right?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, yeah. So he's eating a bit of food, but he's got he's got his herbalism kit out. He's grinding up some incense or some flowers for incense, and he's just basically kind of trying to meditate a little bit and get himself centered and not think about what is very heavily on his mind, and he's really not having much luck with it.
Okay.
But he's trying.
Is the window to the room open or closed?
It's what was the temperature, did we decide?
This is towards this is late fall, so it's
brisk.
Crisp and chill, yeah. I mean, not chill, crisp anyway.
Around Middle Earth in 80 days, yeah. It's probably open a crack, but not much.
Okay. Because you can hear the sort of sounds of, the fair and everything outside kind of drifting through your window.
Which to him sounds like, it's being slightly tainted by his memory, so parts of it are sounding like combat.
Yep, and I was going to say that because you do hear the sound of clanging of metal and things like that at times, which sort of, brings that up to you. Okay, I shall return to you. but jumping back out to the three who are out on the street, you have, so again, up to you folks. I mentioned there were other contests here. There's that big maze thing that you saw, Robar, and there's a bunch of other stuff around as well.
Well played, both of you.
I'm just so glad that we didn't, bet any money on any of this. Clearly, Kana is really, really fantastic. I mean,
Yeah.
you'd have to have been a fool to bet on anyone but her, probably.
Yeah.
Clearly the absolute favorite, so...
What an absolute moron one must be to bet on anybody but her.
Yup.
Right.
Well, I did get an axe out of this.
True. It looks pretty cool,
Give it a
too.
go. Well, I mean, it's a regular axe. Need to give it a go at some point. Also,
Agreed.
should clean it. There's some blood there.
Yeah, that can't be good for it.
I saw a maze over there. We could try that out if you guys want, or...
A maze. Oh, I mean, yeah, we could do that.
I mean, I would kind of want to see River contest in that, participate in that riddle contest.
Oh,
I do
that's a
love
good-
riddles.
The
Riddles
riddle
are
contest, by the way, is there's people on a stage, and then the people around them are sort of chatting with them, and so it seems to be
sorry,
that may
froze
be
for
the
a
most
second.
popular one right now. Seems to be that one, and then of course there's the song stuff, and then the maze, and
River is definitely interested in the song stuff, but she's also conscious of the fact that she did just, take part in a thing. So if Robar wants to do the maze, then she will probably just be like, well, we could, go to see the maze as well. She definitely wants to do the same.
How about we throw Robar into the song contest?
Oh god. It's like throwing me into an actual river.
You're gonna wind up on the dunking thing, and you won't be able to get out. That's the problem.
exactly. It's like, this is not dignified.
I'm not sure whether or not Robo would actually want to take part in a maze competition or not. I think the closest he'd get to would be like archery is the only thing that he'd feel confident enough to.
And I should say, this is a table side. Like, this is not an actual,
Right.
like, in case anyone was curious, not that you're in a maze.
The other thing that he's thinking of is that he is meant to be here sort of as a king. So he's trying to... Yeah, I think he's trying to keep a bit of a low profile himself right now. So he might say something like, I don't want to get too involved. I'm meant to be here as a dignitary, get all that food for my people and all that. So
No, of
you
course.
guys go ahead with a singing competition, and I might just ask around a little bit. Get a lay for the land, if you know what I mean.
That makes a lot of sense. All right. I would certainly like to do. There are some harps over there, and I've never had one of my own, and it might be a little awkward to carry, but if I could be in with a chance to get one, that would be pretty amazing. So River's gonna be like, cool, and just kind of edge her way towards the song contest.
Okay. Accompanied by Inga and Robar.
Yeah, Robo's going to be keeping an eye out for anyone that might seem important. Someone that he might meet at this sort of... I guess anyone that might be traveling in town as like a dignitary themselves. Someone that he could spot that might seem
Okay.
a little well-to-do, perhaps.
Okay.
Just to get a scout on some people that he might have to be doing like politics with, because he's nervous about that.
Okay. I will come back to that because that's going to be important. When you all head over to the song competition, you can see that there are a number of people gathered in a circle around several what looks like performers, basically. One has what looks like a small drum. Another one has a lute. There's another person who has what looks like a recorder. And they are doing various kinds of things. The person who is playing, as you get up, you can hear the person is playing the recorder, and it's a very beautiful sort of lilting and yet sad melody that probably would put you in mind of kind of a wistful fall day. To jump out of character for a minute, it is my favorite poem is by a guy named by a person named W.S. Merwin, who wrote To the Fortunate Visitors, and it's about coming back to a school in the fall and kind of the wistful nature of summer passing and fall beginning, which anyone who's ever worked in an academic environment knows that feeling. And there's a little bit of that feeling that you get from this recorder. Seems to reflect even the kind of weather and the oncoming, the winter, the hints of winter to come. So that plays, and there's some applause, and people are definitely listening carefully. And then a man steps up who seems to be quite old, actually, is cloaked and has the hood thrown back and has these sort of white hair flowing down his shoulders, and has a lute. And as you're looking at it, River, you can actually see as his hands kind of curl around the fretboard and he prepares to play, you wonder, because its hands almost seem a little bit like clawed and maybe even palsied, like how is he actually going to play anything? But that all disappears as he begins to strum away and sing this song about a great battle, and the war that was fought, and the time that passed away, the time that passed away. The dragons fly along the time that passed away. And he goes on with this. And people sort of, you find yourself really being kind of drawn forward to him. His voice is much less weak than you might have expected. In fact, if anything, it kind of gets stronger. And as he gets to a section where he is now clearly singing about the Battle of the Five Armies, where he gets to this section, and the goblins fell like rain, and the spears flew through the time, and and he goes to this thing, and people are really kind of drawing up towards it. And he has been paying very little attention to anyone. He's just been focusing down on his fretboard. And as he gets to the very end of that song, he looks up for the first time and he catches sight of you, River. And he looks up and he says, "Until the time will pass away," and just sort of stares at you as the last sort of notes trail off, and then looks around and this great, like applause goes up, very impressive, sound. And he steps to the side, and a woman steps up wearing a beautiful green dress and says, "That was, of course, lovely, as usual, from Elena Dale. And, of course, there is perhaps little else that can be said unless any of you wish to sing and perhaps compete against this." And she kind of looks around almost like, as if anyone's going to ever do that, like kind of looks around and no one says anything.
And then Inge gets her revenge by shoving River forward.
River is like overcome by the song and is like, tears are liberally streaming down her cheeks while it was singing, and then suddenly Inge shoves her forward and she's like, "Oh no, ah!"
I was like, yeah, I don't know. I didn't think that was very good. You could do better.
I've heard better.
In fact, is Elena Dale is renowned? Is it someone who River might have heard of?
Make a make a lore check.
Make a poetry check.
Yeah, make a fangirl check. No,
traditions.
Yes, yes. Let's say traditions.
Okay.
I'm just imagining right now that one scene from Tenacious D, The Pick of Destiny, where they shove Kyle on the stage, and it's like, "You don't have a guitar," and somebody hands him a guitar out.
Yeah, exactly. I like that. I also like, well, Pippin's gonna take this one. All will fade. All will fade. Still the best part of that movie. It's absolutely brilliant cinematography and just brilliant. Everything about it is brilliant. All right, so
pretty paltry traditions check.
Yeah, I mean, the name does sort of tickle something in your memory, like maybe.
Oh, what about history?
He's big in the Shire.
Yeah, he's big in the Shire. No, I think traditions would have been right.
Okay.
Okay. The impression you seem to remember, maybe your parents might have mentioned this person's name, because you don't ever remember having heard this person sing. And as I say, he looks very old. But
Dad's favorite band.
But what?
Dad's favorite band.
Dad's favorite band. It's a classic, right? It's a, you know, mate. Look, he's doing the casino circuit. You know, it's something like that. But he, you may have heard your parents mention it, but not yourself having seen or heard really of his name. Maybe your parents might have mentioned him, but that's pretty much all.
Can I also get a check?
And say again, what?
Can I also get a traditions check? Because like maybe Inge might have seen him while during her travels, because she's traveled all over the place basically with like her things.
I will allow that. Okay, sure. Oh, thank you, 12-sided guy.
21!
Wow. You shall not pass without taking these bits. Thank you, 12-sided guy. I appreciate that very much. Yeah, you do think you've actually heard this person, but it was many, many years ago, Inge. You remember being in a town, and it might even have been, it wasn't Dale, but it might have been a town even on the western side of Mirkwood, you're not sure, where you remember hearing someone, and the name Alan Dale sounds familiar, but you were fairly young, but hearing someone who was a young man with long, at the time, brown hair, who was playing and was really beloved by the people of the town in which you heard him. You only saw one show, if you will, one concert that he did, but it had always stuck with you because of the quality of his voice and the way that his voice kind of conveyed the emotion of the song. And so you do think maybe, but I mean, certainly this man, you know, this was obviously a long time ago, and the age is upon this man, but you do think you've heard that name, yes. So now, River, you are standing in the middle of the circle, and there's this dead silence, and everyone's kind of looking at you. And the woman in the green dress says, well, all right then, I see we have perhaps a challenger for this competition. And your name?
The river of Roscobel.
The river of Roscobel, I see. And do you have your own instrument?
Inge hands
songs?
Instrument.
Do you have like a harp?
And she says, all right, very well. And Alan Adale sort of just looks, you know, seems to be not quite looking at you, maybe even looking a little bit at the ground. You can see now that you're close to him that there's a little bit of a tremor in his hands and his body. He seems to shake slightly. And the crowd sort of all looks at you, and she says, very well, what song, the river of Roscobel, will you sing for us today then?
So I want to get a kind of sense of, like, River is a born performer, and she knows that half the performance is reading the room and kind of getting a sense of the audience. And so she is going to make a snap decision based on a couple of things. One, the fact that the song right before her was like what, sweet and melancholic?
Yes. I would say the way the impression that you get from the people, I mean, if you're to judge based on what they just heard, is nostalgic, right? This is a celebration of times gone by, of the celebration of the Battle of the Five Armies. So you get the impression that this is sort of a, hey, remember when these things happened to us, rather than a tale of the future. This seems to be more looking into the past.
Right. Right. So I think that what River is going to do is sing. She's going to sing an elven song.
Okay.
That like one of the ones that she was singing with Aramay, basically, where Aramay was starting it, and that she added things to it that were so like this kind of sense that I have a sense that she's been kind of working on this kind of melding of the stately, austere, elven, high elf stuff with the kind of much more workaday woodsman rhythms, right, and harmonies and stuff. So that's what she's going to do. She's going to take something. It's basically like she's going to do a very dynamic cover of an elven song. Yeah.
Okay.
Did a Glee version.
I had this image of like the Metallica cover of some Carly Simon, like
I was thinking Rammstein, but yes.
I'm thinking more like, this is not quite the right affect, but like, a sort of, how Jeff Buckley's Hallelujah?
I sure do.
Right.
It's
So
the only version.
No. In fairness, I like Rufus Wainwright's better, but
I love Rufus
but they're both
Wainwright.
great.
Yeah.
They're
Is my
both great.
all-time hero.
Let's be clear. Hallelujah is one of the great songs ever written. Period. So like that's
exactly.
It's good no matter what
So,
you do with it.
I don't mean to suggest it as like the reason I'm bringing it up is because there is an enormous transformation,
Yes,
right,
for
of
sure.
the original
For
to
sure.
Jeff Buckley's version.
For sure.
So what I'm thinking is like it's still extremely recognizable lyric-wise. It's just been transformed. So what I have a sense of River doing is performing a song that is supposed to be stately and immortal and aloof, but actually is infused with passion and like immediacy and liveliness, but urgency more than anything else.
Okay. All right.
If I roll low after like that extremely laborious thing, I'll be very sad.
No, that's right. Well, this is going to be, and this is a performance check that
Yeah,
you're going to
it's
be
a
doing.
performance check.
And chat,
Anyone want to inspire?
I was just going to say, chat, you can. I know Kerflop was asking before, so you can absolutely inspire. Just before you do that, while I give Kerflop a chance to do that, I'm just going to type in 2 things that Terry must absolutely do when this is done.
Yes.
You have got to know. So you said you don't know Leonard Cohen or Rufus Wainwright.
Yes.
Or okay, so
Leonard Cohen is forgettable for me.
what?
No, okay, so
Not a Cohen fan.
well, no, okay. Here's the thing. I actually don't think Leonard Cohen's a good singer. I don't think he's. I don't think he's a great singer, but he's a great lyricist. He's a spectacular lyricist. He's a great lyricist writer. So
First we take Manhattan, then we take is spectacular with him singing it.
that's fair. I mean, like Bob Dylan's not a great singer either, but this is like top 2 lyric writers of all time, Bob Dylan.
Yeah.
Like so, but no, I mean everybody covers Leonard Cohen's songs in a way better than he does, but his songs are great to begin with, most of the time. And as for Jeff Buckley, great guitarist, and Rufus Wainwright as a piano player, as a pianist, is very, very good too.
I think there's also a good argument to be made that everyone who covers Hallelujah after Jeff Buckley is on some level covering Jeff Buckley's Hallelujah.
Yeah.
There is they kind of skip the. Anyways, yeah. So,
Agree. In fact, very quickly, that's exactly what Bob Dylan said about Hendrix's cover of All Along the Watchtower. Because he said after Hendrix did it, he played it like Hendrix from that point forward, because he's like, so I always thought that was really neat. Another great song, All Along the Watchtower. But anyway, okay.
I did not know that was a cover. I thought that was from Jimi Hendrix.
No, yeah, it's originally Bob Dylan. And a lot of times when you're like, this song's great, I wonder who did it. There's a decent chance it might be Dylan. Like, he's so good. Oh my God. Anyway,
Jeff Buckley's version of While My Guitar Gently Weeps is my preferred version.
yeah, also great.
All respect to the Beatles, but
No, I agree with you. Also great. And that's the other thing, is that the Beatles are wonderful songwriters, so stuff you do with their work can like really make a big difference with that.
I like the version from Cubicle and the 2 strings. Like,
uh-oh.
Really
Oh,
good.
shit. Now we're in trouble.
Oh no! I love that movie so much.
really good. Yeah.
And the rest of the adventure is like, the rest of the session is literally just, what's also great as a cover? Is that. Okay. So, yes, as far
while
as
we're talking about covers, I just want to quickly say I saw the movie yesterday, days ago, and it was very, very charming.
is that I haven't seen it.
Oh, so like the premise of it is like this guy who's a just decent singer-songwriter who's not having any success in Suffolk, one day wakes up and the world doesn't have the Beatles in it. Like the world he's the only one who can remember the songs of the Beatles.
Wow.
And that they ever existed. So he ends up gaining fame and glory from playing the songs of the Beatles as if he wrote them, and he's super uncomfortable about this, and it's a whole thing, and it's delightful. So
Oh, that's really cool. Yeah, I can see that being, I mean, because that's the thing, you'd be like, well, what would be the big deal? And it's like, if you remove the Beatles from musical history, a lot changes. Like a whole lot changes. Anyway, so yes, Hillness, and answer your question, the suggestion was River's about to do a song contest to try to beat, basically Roger Waters, and so she was hoping for perhaps a bit of assistance.
Yay!
There we go. Do you have one left, Hillness? I think you do, right? I think you do have an Inspire left. I don't know why it's not popping up, but you do have one. Oh, because Arcanus Bot is not here for some reason. No, Arcanus Bot is not here for some reason. I'll ask Shadowed about it. But I know that you are. I know that you are here, and I will talk to. Hey, Shadowed. No.
Just to delay things for 1 second, can I just have a quick bio break? I'll be back.
Sure. Yes.
Post
Absolutely.
performance.
Hey,
Always
Shadowed.
happens before performance.
Exactly. Yeah.
But you're only allowed to close one door.
Dun 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 dun. Arcanus Bot.
There it is.
Yeah, Jeff
must-
Buckley's Race has a special place in my heart for, there are some records that, like, it's just like the timing of when you listen to them, and there's like an important part in your life where you're like, all right, this is like a great album for my taste in music, etc.
Yes.
That was Grace for me. So.
Oh, I can see that. That album for me, I think, might be Radiohead's OK Computer, because it was at a certain point where my band was just going in to record, I think, our second album or something like that, and I was listening to it, and I'm just like, this is what, and it really is like OK Computer. I think is actually one of the top 10 albums ever made. I think it's so
Absolutely.
good. I think people don't even realize, and Tom York's a jerk, but I'm sorry, like that album is absolutely absurd. How well it's recorded, the construction of the songs. Oh man. Everything, just like the first three, like Airbag, Paranoid Android, like, oh man, Karma Police.
Have I ever ranted to you about how much I love Radiohead? Is this like?
Did you? Are you really? Oh,
yeah,
man.
and I'm not the biggest Radiohead fan of all time.
They're great.
Radiohead. Yeah.
But that album in particular, though, like I like the Bends and whatever, but
yeah.
that album is so good. Oh.
Yeah, OK Computer is great. In Rainbows is a really good record as well.
Yeah. Agree. Tom York is a jerk, though. I just want to be clear.
But then what famous songwriter isn't there? They're all sort of jerks.
Well, that's probably true. Matt Hullum of Rooster Teeth did a cover of Hallelujah after the 20. Really? That's interesting. Yes, I did. Hillness has inspired, so I have done this. Ah, okay. Try it now, Hillness. Thank you, Shadowed. I appreciate that, dude. So, Hillness, try to inspire the river now, and it should work, I think. Thank you very much, Shadowed, for doing that.
Okay.
Why is that not?
He's practicing not finishing sentences for a while.
No, inspires right. Exclamation point inspire space. Why are you not listed as having I don't know why you're not listed, but it should still be giving you a command that says. No, you do. You do have one, Hillness. Although, because you're supporting at, Kilgore has twice because Kilgore supports the Patreon at $30 a month. So he's got 2 Patreons to use, 2 inspirations. Nordwolf also has that as well. So does Polar. But no, Specchio only has 1. West River only has 1. Rob has 1. Flackenroder has 1. I don't know. I'm sure you have one, Hillness, because I think you support at tier 2 plus the Patreon. It's possible, Hillness, maybe that you've only got. I thought you had 1 though. This is important only because this is going to affect the roll that the river's about to make. So, yeah, that's right. Yeah, sorry, Hillness. I don't know what the deal is with that. That's weird.
River is tuning the harp while this is happening.
Yeah, it's just not giving you a... Yeah, nonstop used is. Yeah, that worked. So there's something... It should be giving a command. Thank you, Kerflop.
Did you say tuning?
Tuning, yes.
For a moment, I thought you said chewing. I'm like, no!
Yeah, I did that, but I updated it all, though, Eridanel. This is all should be current. Although, maybe, Hillness, you might have dropped to tier 1, and then the Patreon wasn't high enough or something. I don't know, though. I thought you had one. So anyway, we'll figure it out. Okay. Regardless, Kerflop has inspired you because he also is an officer and a gentleman, as is Hillness. Okay, so you were inspired and have the ability to do that. So it still should be giving you a prompt, though, saying you don't have the ability to use it. Yeah, if you dropped to tier 1 on Twitch, I don't know if you support over on the Patreon at the $10 level or not, Hillness, because it has to be either tier 2 on the sub, or it has to be $10 on the Patreon. And if you have both, like tier 2 on the Patreon or $10 on Patreon plus tier 2 on the subs, then you get 2. So maybe that's what it is. Anyway, while we figure this out, Kerflop is inspired, so you may now do this, River, making a performance check and letting us know how does it all sound. You told us how it's going to sound, so
Yeah.
fortunately you don't have your harp with you. I would have liked to
I know.
actually heard
I
it. It's
would
all right.
have
It's okay.
probably Put it on. Okay, so this is a performance check. So she draws a deep breath and launches in. Okay.
All right. So let's see. I would say that you play well. I would say that you convey a lot of the experience of that time and a lot of the sort of feelings that people have, and people are definitely connected to what it is that you're saying. But when you're done, I think you even get the sense that when you're done, it was a credible performance, and like the Alan Adale, sort of nods to you, but you get the impression that still people are more moved by what he did than what you did. Although they are, the woman in green nods to you and says, "Thank you. It was a pleasant song that gave us another sense of times in the past." And, people sort of clap politely and all that. So it definitely is not, you did not embarrass yourself at all.
Right.
But maybe because you were still sort of moved by his song, you might still have been.
I think she's also like just kind of like realizes as she's playing the song it's not quite ready yet, and it's kind of
it's not quite there. There you go.
It's not quite there yet.
Something maybe to visit again, to revisit in the future. So, okay. So after that's done, the song contest.
Can I just say, I always feel like I have like let down the person who inspired when the inspiration role is just lukewarm. I am like, so sorry.
They know the drill. I mean, like they've actually been. The fortunate thing is that they've been pretty good about. There have been a lot of times where it's really helped. All of them. So it ends up working in their favor most of the time. Okay. So, there you go. 9 is like a decent coffee shop performance. It's good, but it's not going to make so much sense in their life. Jeez, Aranadel. It's like an okay sophomore talent show performance. It's like, Kerflop said, "No, you're great." See, Kerflop gave you the actual
Singer-songwriter number 4. Playing their half-hour set before the band.
Next up is Emil.
All right, that was a really cool cover of "Somewhere Over the Rainbow," and
I don't know if this is a thing where you guys are up, but
Man.
Locating. Where I come from in Essex, there's a lot of like churches that have like open mic nights because they've got like a PA or whatever.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of very awkward church open mic nights with the vicar on the mic. Oh yeah, very good. And that was Kesha. What?
That's really funny. Yeah, they had we did a show. My band's ever first show back when I was still in graduate school was done at the coffee house on our campus, on Brandeis's campus, and we had a song in the middle of the song. My guitarist's E string snapped. And so he ended up having to, and he hadn't brought an extra because he was dumb. So he ended up having to transpose everything onto 4 strings on the fly, which he did because he's an incredible guitarist. But at the end of it, we had a song called "Dreams Die Last," and so the review, and I thought we were fine, but the review at the end was like, "This dream didn't die soon enough," and I was like, "Wow." That really hurt. So when we got positive reviews, because we played at CBGB's and we played at the Bitter End and stuff like that, I really wanted to send a copy of the sort of poster with like the road at the bitter end to this person. I'm like, no, don't do that. But yeah, coffee houses, man, it's a terrible wasteland and landscape, and you don't want to.
Not always. Heather Alexander used to play at a coffee shop in San Jose all the time, and she always packed that out.
It's still a minefield.
I love
It's a minefield. It's not that it's bad. Let me not misstate. It's not that the people are bad doing it. It's that it's very variable. You get some amazing acts and some not. I mean, Sarah Bareilles got her start doing, coffee houses in California and stuff like that. And I like Sarah Bareilles a lot. She's a wonderful singer. So anyway, so it was much better than we're making it sound like. It was pretty good, River. And people seem to like it, but it did not have as you say, it wasn't quite ready.
Yeah.
As the song contest starts to break up, you still have some options left to you if you wish. There are still the riddle games, and you've got the market stuff to visit, the maze thing, or you can also just head back to the inn and wait for the opening ceremony to start, which is a couple hours away. You can do that too.
Oh, we still need to make some money.
This is the thing. I really like. Is there a way that, like, having done the song contest, that River can just like busk? Because, I mean, yeah, she just like.
Yes, I would say so. You're going to be competing with a lot of other people doing the same thing. This is like the thing in New York where every subway has got someone doing the panpipes band. I don't know if you've seen the Saturday Night Live skit with this, where like there's people from out of town and they keep seeing the people with the it's an Andean, from the Andes, playing band with playing the panpipes, and it sounds awesome. And they're like, "Wow, this is so cool!" And then like that band gets off, and another band exactly like them gets right back on the subway, which is funny if you've ever. There are a lot of them in New York City. Anyway, so yeah, there's a lot of people busking, but you can certainly do so. It would probably take you a couple of hours to try to net some money from it, just so you know, River, and you probably wouldn't be able to do other things at the same time. So you probably wouldn't be able to do like riddle contest if you did the busking.
So I think River would enjoy the riddle contest, but I definitely don't think that she is of proficiency, nor does she think that she would actually win stuff from it. Whereas if like getting money is the important thing, then that might, like, I think at this point she'd be like, all right, well, enough of contests for me. I'm going to go and just see if I can earn some coin.
Okay.
Doing the thing that I more or less know how to do, even if it's not as good as Alan the Dale. But oh well, that's fine.
I think you can do that. I think you can do that, and you can head off to do that busking. Robar and Inga, you're assuming you're not just going to stand there while she's busking, or what are you going to do in the meantime?
Inga would like to try her hands at that rune domino game you mentioned in the beginning. Mm-hmm. Like maybe she can get some.
Undermountain.
Yeah,
Undermountain. Yes.
Okay, so you're going to do the rune game. Robar, what about you?
I'll come with Inga and just still keep my eye out. I'm not necessarily expecting to see anyone here, but he's keeping in mind that he's an undercover king. He's like undercover millionaire.
Not anymore, he's not.
No, certainly not a millionaire. He has no money, in fact.
Okay.
In fact, if there's any drunkards around, I don't think Robar's above nicking stuff from people.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
He's there to be a dignified king, but he's also not above nicking.
Not a he's an undercover king.
An undercover
king.
Exactly. He's keeping an eye out, but yeah, he's also a survivor. Yeah.
This puts a whole new spin on Henry V listening to his troops before the battle. He's like, and stealing some coin, perhaps.
Right.
We happy few that have coins. All right. So, yeah, it's not theft, it's collecting taxes. Exactly, Aradinel. Exactly. And who cares about jurisdiction and the fact that this is King
just going to say,
like,
in someone else's
kingdom. Consider it tariffs. That's how these work, right? Oh, wait.
Me and Bard go way back.
Okay. So, the king's still the sweat of the brow of the common folk. Exactly. All right. So I'm going to go down these one by one, but I want to jump back up to Tawny first. As you were sort of sitting in the room doing your various work, there is, at one point, you hear a kind of cry, not a, oh my God, but sort of a sound from outside, a very sort of almost like the sound of a bird. And it sounds very close to the window, like, there's something standing right outside it or on the roof above it or something like that. The call of something, not a raven, this is not Curse's Rod, but the call of something that falls upon the wind even as you hear it. And the call happens several times, actually.
Wait, is this something River will hear as well?
No, River does not hear this.
Okay. No.
He'll get up and go and kind of push the window open and kind of lean and
Okay.
Yeah.
So you look up, and at first you don't hear anything, and then you're startled by the appearance of this beak, which kind of looks down, like from the top, holding on. And you can see that it is a hawk. Now, most of the time, hawks do not make appearances with this many people about. And you notice that, no one else below seems to have noticed. More people seem to be more interested in what's happening on the ground than what's happening up above.
Sorry, Rudinell just screwed me up with that.
Screaming not again because copyright.
Sorry, go ahead.
That's funny.
Amazing.
And you can sort of see it looks down at you very intelligently, actually, upside down, albeit. And then it flaps sort of out and then back and lands on the sill. And you can see that it has a note that is tied to its leg, or at least it looks like a note, a piece of parchment.
He'll go to his pack and break out a dried piece of meat and bring it back and trade.
And the hawk eats it gratefully. Apparently gratefully. Let me not make the POV. That's amateur hour for an author. Apparently, you have no idea what it's actually thinking.
Right. And he'll kind of look at the hawk like,
Am I supposed to wait? Or are you supposed to whatever?
and he opens it up and reads it.
The parchment actually seems to be, as you're sort of reading it, seems to be a note. And it says, "Do not miss the opening ceremony. Many meetings will occur, and you should be a part of them." And then at the bottom, in runic script, is the letter R.
I'll look at the hawk and look at the note, look at the hawk.
Please tell Radagast I will consider it.
And the hawk sort of, kind of tilts its head and opens its beak and gives a caw, and then turns and pushes off and takes off and flies into the air and vanishes. Well, vanishes after a while, not instantaneously.
Somebody rolled a natural one at the archery contest.
Right, exactly. Suddenly the river's axe.
Exactly.
The crossbowman on the grassy knoll. Exactly.
Oh.
All right. Let me jump down then to Robar and Inga next. So you go to this dwarf runic thing. Now, the way that the dominoes competition, this sort of dwarf dominoes basically seems to work, is the idea of matching runes to each other. And if you can match a certain number of runes, you get to keep them as a set. So, you have essentially 10 different kinds of runes, and as you match the runes to each other by placing them next to each other, when you get 3 of them placed next to each other, then you have created a set. But the other players can try to block you from doing that by putting their dominoes there instead. It's just as they do that, they make it impossible for them to get a set. So it's, sort of going back and forth that way. And you're playing against several other older, gruffer dwarves that you don't recognize. 2 male dwarves, and there's 1 female dwarf there as well. And they're all sitting around kind of playing as you play with them. Now, I'm going to have you make a roll, but I'm going to ask you how you want to set up for this roll first. Is there something that you want to try to do, a particular check you'd like to make to try to gain some benefit to the roll that you're about to make? And just as an example, is it like watching their body language for flinches or tells? Is it, sort of your manual dexterity of being able to flip dominoes in such a way that it confuses your opponents? Like that sort of thing. Is there something you're going to try to do to get a benefit in what's about to happen?
I think Inga would try to distract them by telling her tales from the travels she had since she left last time.
Okay.
and like goes into particularly gory details at some point.
Okay.
Just like you know, to throw them off a little.
All right. I'm going to have you make a deception check here. We're going to see whether this deception helps throw them off or not.
Ooh.
Also,
God.
Dwarfamos. Yeah.
I'm not getting any bonuses to that. God damn it.
Yeah, distracting table talk is one of the worst board game traits.
11.
So they sort of like, they kind of grunt to you a couple times. They seem not overly impressed with your story. They're kind of like, I've seen worse. Perhaps someone who has to tell the story hasn't actually lived it, eh? And they kind of, elbow each other and says, leave her alone. No, like as not it's happened. But we've heard it before, lass. Many, many times. And thank you for the host size 16, and hello to Genly. All right, you have a chance to do one other thing if you wish, Inga, and then you got to make your roll. So you tried the deception that may not have had that as much of an effect as you might have wanted. Anything else? And Robar, you could also jump in on this if you wish to help one way or the other on this, like, or not. I mean, like, it's up to you. You clearly don't want to actually cheat, but you know.
Right.
Like you said, some light nicking. I mean, you know.
Oh, I know. Robar will say, well, really, Inga's been telling me all about the dwarfs for so long. I have to say I'm disappointed not to hear some stories of your own, gentlemen.
Whatever she's told you, it can't possibly measure up to what it is that we've done before. What stories would you hear?
Well, tell me your finest tale, perhaps one involving all of you.
Well, it all began when we were born, but it's like literally when we were born type of thing, right?
I just look at Inga and I'm like, you're good.
So what this means, Inga, is that you're going to get a chance to actually make this check at advantage because indeed they are very much happy to talk about themselves. Cool. So what I'd like you to do for this is I'm going to ask you to make an intelligence check here, please.
Oh, God.
And you're going to be using this to sort of see if you can kind of fit all this stuff together, but you will be doing it at advantage.
He goes to nothing unless anybody wants to inspire again, which I doubt.
No. You're already working at advantage. You can't get advantage twice. Double advantage.
13.
Well, actually, before I tell you, let me tell you whether that works.
Also, is Robot playing too? Or
No.
I assumed he wasn't. I assumed it was just.
Yeah, I don't think he'd know quite how to play.
So as you play, you find that you're able to get a couple of sets, Inga, and at first you're feeling good about stuff, but then you notice that although you've gotten a couple of sets, you've used up the dominoes that you might have been able to use to block their sets, and you notice that both of them are like placing, and this very much feels like anyone's ever been in Central Park watching a couple of old guys playing lightning chess. That's what this is. I mean, they are just like moving around and moving stuff and like putting sets together and putting sets. You hold your own, but by the time all is said and done, you have definitely not been able to win the dominoes. And you sort of having lost and sort of looking at the board where they've pretty clearly won, the one says, "That's all right, lass, it's all right. It's not always easy when you've got people like him and me. We've been doing this for a long time, and you definitely acquitted yourself more like one of our folk. Not like one of these light-headed humans." And he kind of looks around and sees you, Robar, and he's like, although that said, I'm glad that we were able to tell you stories. At least you understand the value of a story, because they literally finished the story, Robar, at the end just before they ended up winning all this. So they're like, I could give you some more stories, perhaps. It all began when I was a cousin. And
bridge on, I need to go.
And you stand up and then head off and all that stuff. All right. You head off to do this. In the meantime, the river has had some more success with the busking. A number of the people that were around, actually, that listened to her originally doing the song, thought it was good enough that they wanted to listen to more. And so you've got a little bit of a fan club, I would say, probably built up, River, that is sort of listening to you. I'd like you to do another performance check, and we're going to see how well you end up doing. I think you're muted.
Can't hear
Now
you.
you're not.
There you are.
Now you're good.
And you're gone again.
No,
No,
she's here.
you're there.
I'm here. Am I here?
Yeah,
Oh,
she's here.
No,
Yeah, she's
there.
here.
Okay. Yeah. The
Okay.
internet here has been a little bit fritzy, a little bit. Sometimes the stuff has frozen, but so I think like the repertoire River's going to be falling back on as she's performing and stuff will be woodsman songs most likely, and figuring that might be you know, a genre in
Okay.
particular, like occasionally dotted with her own compositions.
Okay.
So let's do performance again.
Ah. Yeah, that's that. See, you just needed to be on a street corner doing this.
Like she was shoved quite unexpectedly.
That's what did it. Yeah, no, I mean
yeah.
for sure. You're
So having had a
equilibrium
chance
point.
to gather herself.
Oh yeah. Totally
yeah,
logical. So this actually is very successful, and you end up gaining a lot of people are sort of like impressed, and there's a little crowd that builds up around you. And I would say at the end of this couple of hours, you've probably gotten, let's say, 2 gold pieces from all of the collected money that gets put together. And I'm not going to make you exchange that at a bank and get but you get a lot of coins. You actually get that.
From what?
Yes, you've gained a coin in the end. And while this is happening, Robar, I'd like you to make a perception check for me, by the way. I forgot to mention this when you were over with Inga. But after you're done, River, I'm going to assume you're going to head back to the inn after you're done busking. Am I right about that or no?
Yes.
Okay.
Unless like on the way to the
Why?
end.
How did you
Say
do
this.
that as me?
Oh, I know why. It for some reason in the chat box under
What?
Alex,
Drop down.
I can speak as Inga, and I must have
Why?
accidentally had that selected.
Because he's probably had control of your character sheet before.
yeah.
Right.
Boy, stop it.
I am you now.
You have this urge to see things, Inga.
That was my character sheet though. It was a 21.
It was 21. Okay. So the thing I want to point out is that there are, you've noticed now in a lot of the different places you went, I'm sorry, River, I'll come back to you in a second. In a number of the places that you went, there are these stalls which are selling these painted wooden or leather masks. And they are doing a lot of business. Like you see a lot of people buying these masks. Most of them are not wearing them yet, but a lot of them are buying them and carrying them around with them. I mean, a lot of people. It's almost like Mardi Gras with necklaces and beads. There's a good 70%, 60 to 70% of the people have one of these masks. And you see them at a number of stalls around.
I'll go up to one of the stores and inquire. So what are these masks for again?
Ah, sir, well, this is a fashion imported from Dorwinian, some of the most beautiful masks that you'll find, and almost everyone's going to wear one tonight at the Great Ball. After the opening ceremony, the masked ball will take place after fireworks, which we're told will be of special significance. The masked ball will then happen afterwards. There's many people, sir, they say will be there, and all the most important types, if you know what I mean. Perhaps even King Bard will come in disguise after giving his speech earlier that day, and there might be others too. If you want to be a part of this ball, a mask is what you'll need, sir.
Well, all right. How much are one of these masks?
And so he says, well, we've got all of these different types. Our finest one, though, this, and he shows you one that's like, it looks like it's gold inlaid and like all this stuff, and like has all this good spot, like it's practically blinding as you look at it in the setting sun, you know, kind of like this one, of course, is our finest, sir, made and handcrafted. Ah, yes, I spent almost a year working on this. This, sir, although I wish that I could keep it myself, I must leave. Really? It's only a scant 15 gold coins, sir. Why wouldn't you wish to? I would think this would be perfect.
Because it's a scant 15 gold coins.
Well,
That was the biggest
gold's
one.
not my color.
Ah, yes. Well, perhaps something like this, sir. Pure black, the purest obsidian. This, sir, we have available for you, mined by the dwarves under the Lonely Mountain themselves. This could be yours, sir, for the low price of only 10 gold, sir.
Is Inga there too?
Yes.
At this incidentally, you just because just like the thing I was gonna say about River was that if Inga and Robar are on the way back, then she would be going to find them before going back to the inn.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just saying, because like a thing I would love to do is to have River actually get to haggle.
Okay.
Like so, Yeah.
Sure, you
So
can do that. I would say you catch up with them then. That's
like
fine.
wander up as they are looking at the masks. at
Okay,
some
because Robar would have found it first, but would have said, "Hey, come
Yeah,
look at
yeah.
this" or whatever. Okay. Yep. So 10 is the obsidian one.
Yeah. Oh, hey, River.
point.
We were just
Ah.
talking about these masks for the ball, you know, because
Ah, and I have some for all designs, of course. We have masks for dwarves and masks, of course, for woodsmen, halflings, elves, anyone you could possibly desire. And there are indeed a whole array of masks at this stall. I was just showing him our most impressive one that is my life's work, and he points at the gold one. This one, the hand carving itself took me 3 months on its own. Whoever wears this mask will definitely be the talk of the ball.
Is like, can I do a perception check on him just see like just how much of this is
Insight would be what you're looking for, and yes, you could do that.
insight? Okay,
Yes.
cool.
Inga will be like gone in the meantime, getting some candied apples as she promised to Tony.
Okay.
There's the roll.
You do find some delicious ones. Wow. Wham! Okay. So your impression on this, the man is transparent. You see all things. So the impression that you get from this guy is that he is a craftsman. You get the impression that he really is proud of his work, and that probably it did take him a long time. But there's also the fact that, you know, there are a lot of people selling masks, and so you wonder how much all of them are going to be like, no, are you kidding me? This is the best 1970s Pinto anyone's ever had. I mean, this is definitely not low quality, don't get me wrong, but you definitely get the impression that he's talking it up. So.
what do you
Yeah.
think?
River looks at the masks and nods appreciatively, but looks at Robar and says, honestly, the masks that I saw at the stall just down over that way are much more beautiful at a third of the price. So,
Oh, really?
yeah.
Sounds like I should take my business over there.
Oh, no, wait a minute. I don't know where it is that you've seen some of these things. There are many masks that you could buy everywhere, these knockoffs perhaps from Bree or somewhere similar, but the reality is that none of them are going to match this. You see, I have myself provided masks to some of Bard's family, and I can tell you that doing so means that I have some special qualities in terms of the masks I provide. For one,
Really?
you won't get a warranty on any of those other masks. I guarantee mine.
warranty?
If mine
Wait.
mask breaks or slips out of place, I will give you, for free, a new mask to replace it. Guaranteed not to crack or smash.
Just out of curiosity, if you've which members of Bart's family have you equipped? Is
Yeah,
it
which
a,
ones were they?
a half cousin twice removed?
And he says, I am appalled, madam, that you would think anything of the kind. It had nothing to do with a cousin. It was one of his aunts, and it was a very close aunt, was my understanding. And remember, King Bard's family is both powerful and prosperous. So, you know, you want to provide the aunts positive masks too. I imagine that when word gets around that Bard himself may come and ask for one of my masks eventually.
Indeed. Well, sir, your masks are certainly of very fine quality. I would never dream of disputing that. However, there are a number of us, and the masks that I saw elsewhere were of certainly equal quality. I'm sure you wouldn't want to impugn any of your fellow craftsmen in this area. But remarkably, the prices, perhaps because they were not as placed in as attractive a location as you have managed to secure for yourself, were decidedly more affordable for the casual traveler. And so I feel like unless you were going to offer, some kind of arrangement for buyers of masks, then we might as well go to the other one.
And he says, I can see that you strike somewhat of a hard bargain, and I appreciate someone who can understand the importance of quality, quantity, and value. And so I'll tell you what I'll do. Now, these masks that I'm going to offer you are not of the finest work of this level. They will not have the same kind of warranty, and they certainly wouldn't have quite the same look, but they will still do the job, and I would be willing to sell them to you for considerably cheaper. And he brings out these 3 wooden masks that are each carved differently and cunningly, and have some paint coloration and so forth around the edges. And he says, "This is what we might call your value pack of masks. With these, you don't have to feel embarrassed. You can simply feel like you've gotten what you desired, your identity hidden, and not embarrassing yourself with everyone else wearing masks around you. These 3 masks I can give you for a single gold for all 3. But I must warn you, they won't have the same resale value as my obsidian or gold masks. Those one hold up very well. If you look at the Kelly Blue Book of masks, you'll be able to find many places where you could eventually trade these back in, but the wooden masks not so much. Nonetheless, these masks will not only last the ball, but will impress people who will think you have an understated understanding of value. However, I cannot sell these for any less, so don't try. I appreciate a good haggle, but not someone trying to steal me."
Of course not. Unfortunately, we will need 4 masks. 4 masks for 1 gold piece, I think, would be more than fair.
If it'll sway you in any way, we are invited guest of King Bart's, and he's an old friend of mine. I'm
Really?
Robar Staunton. King? No, yeah.
I was here for it. I was like, "King over the forest." Like,
I'm actually saving my reveal royalty
Okay.
for the ball. I want to have my moment there, but yeah.
No, exactly.
So he says, I suppose at this point that your being invited guests is exactly as real as the ant that I did in fact make a mask for. Yes, and he kind of gives you this sort of like, "You're not putting me on" sort of look.
Of course not. No, we really are going. That is why we need the masks.
Make a persuasion check for me, River. You can do this at +3.
Woohoo!
Oh, I'll show him. I'll be showing him my family sigil, which he might not recognize, but he might recognize the make.
I mean, I think
Okay.
River's at 29.
Well,
29? Oh,
Yeah.
shit.
so once
So-
you put the sigil away, look at. Never mind.
Don't worry. You don't need to look at this.
So
I mean,
I'm actually going to say that the sigil is part of what helps. Like,
Okay.
he nods slowly and he says, "All right, I think that you probably are telling the truth, or at least you're telling a lie that's enjoyable enough that I'll accept it as one. Very well, 4 masks for 1 gold, but on one condition. You must be willing to tell people that," and he sort of like holds his hands wide, that Lornar has the best mask stall here in Dale. In fact, if you could say, "Hello, my name is Robar Staunton, and this is my favorite mask stall in Dale."
Like a
I
sponsorship.
tell you what, sir. I'll do
Terry
you one.
got that joke. Anyway.
I'll do you one better.
That joke.
If you throw in 2 masks for our animals, but actually, is Lillimon going to go to probably Lillimon will not be going there, right?
I don't think they would allow. No, I don't think so.
But Stone will come, right?
Yes. So you want so
So if you throw in a simple leather mask for my hound, I will write a song praising your stall and sing it the festival round.
so he looks over and he says, "You want me to provide a mask for a dog?" And Stone is like looking up. Says, "Well, he's certainly big enough, I suppose. How good would this song be?"
Very.
Very good. as fine as the masks warrant, of course.
He thinks for a minute and kind of, "All right, done. But it better be a song that echoes through Dale for weeks after the festival comes to an end."
She shakes on it.
All right. So he says, "It'll take a little while, though, to produce this mask for you. If you come back before the ceremony, I'll promise I'll have it done. Speaking of which, you'd better get ready. You don't have that long before the ceremony gets underway. I've got to gather some parts together. I'll have it ready for you within the hour." And he hands you the other masks as well. So it is going to cost a gold from one of you.
River will cover it with, half her busking earnings.
Okay. All right. Not Anne, but really not exactly. Okay. So as you do this, then, and you prepare, assuming that I think you folks were done with what you needed to do, I wanted.
The only thing I wanted to do, which it didn't in the market part. I mean, I did want to see if there was any kind of either instrument or weapon upgrade situation. I mean, River doesn't travel; she hasn't been traveling with an instrument. Right. But if there was one available, I wanted to get a sense of what the price range was, because her worldly goods at this point are 1 gold and 7 silver, I think. Right. So I don't think that...
I would say that you're not going to be able to necessarily get a weapon upgrade, but there is a beautiful harp that is... let's say, actually, let me say, she uses a lute or a harp?
Both. I mean, she'd be looking for a harp right now.
Right? Yeah, okay. So it's a beautiful harp, and it seems to be sort of woven in both silver and gold, although clearly not actual silver and gold, but very cunningly worked. And it is available, but for...
I will say she is also looking for, she's not looking for something ornate. She's looking for something that will travel well and has a really warm tone.
Well, right. That's what I was going to say, because she actually, when you do strum it, it makes this beautiful, sort of bassy strum that kind of fills. It's like hot, like drinking hot chocolate. It's this sort of warmth that it provides, and it is well in tune also, and looks reasonably new. Like it's been, it's clearly been used a little bit, but not too bad. And the asking price is 2 gold, which the shopkeeper absolutely refuses to come off of. However, they say, if you are going to be at the opening ceremony and the ball tonight, there may be an opportunity, perhaps, to be able to see this being used, and depending on how things go, there may be a chance to sort of use this as a floor model. So in other words, they basically say they will offer this to you depending on how things go at the opening ceremony and the ball, but you will need to be willing to play a little bit for them. It's almost like what you said with the guy and the mask sort of thing. So
I'm imagining you're playing the mask guy's song on the harp.
On that harp, right? Just
hitting both advertising targets.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so that's that, and that will use the rest of earnings and everything else that you've got to do that. Assuming you do that though, then I'm going to jump us forward to heading to the opening ceremony, which is around the fountain, and I want to ask Tawny if Tawny is going to be in attendance at this opening ceremony.
He does have a mask now.
Yes, and I would assume they would have. Yeah. Exactly, Terry.
Yes.
Okay. So, I want to set us forward to twilight. A crowd is gathered around the fountain commemorating the fall of Smaug, and it's in front of the royal palace. And a procession of nobles and courtiers emerges from its great front gate, and it's welcomed by cheers and shouts from all bystanders. The group is led by Dane himself, king under the mountain, and a trio of elven emissaries clad in green and gold are followed by what is the master of Lake Town. You remember, certainly Inga and Robar and Tani remember from your last time when you were out here. Last of all, King Bard makes his appearance, followed by his most trusted counselors. You can see that these are archers, and several people whisper to you that these are archers who formerly served in his company when he was but a captain in Esgaroth, and was part, of course, of the battle that took place. King Bard steps forward to address the crowd, and the crowd falls silent. His dwarf-wrought crown glitters in the light of many lanterns. His frame is as lean and hard as it was when he brought down the dragon, but this night his gray eyes are alight with joy. "People of Wilderland," he shouts, Years ago, we were strangers to each other as we hid in shadows. We were afraid of a world where dragons ruled and orcs were free to plunder. Then, one day, our worst fears came upon us and threatened to bury us forever, together with our weaknesses and our worries. And the crowd goes very silent. You can kind of feel the tension. And an old man wrapped in cloak and hood emerges from among the king's counselors and takes his place by Bard's side. Bard continues his speech. But then the clouds that darkened our days were torn by the wind, and a red sunset slashed the west. We fought together at the Battle of 5 Armies. And Tani, you feel almost like his look kind of like sweeps over the crowd, you know. And we prevailed together. And today we are here to testify that since that day, we stand united. The crowd erupts. The old man casts aside his hood and cloak, raising a tall staff. Gandalf the Grey has come to Dale. Suddenly the staff of the wizard blazes forth with a flash, and behind the royal palace, the sky over Dale erupts with the most magical fireworks, bright enough to illuminate the flanks of the mountain. Flowers and trees and candelabras and shooting stars, and then a flock of great golden eagles that burst like the dawn. The sound kind of echoes and reverberates with the cheering, and as everyone is sort of cheering each other, Gandalf himself strides forward to the 4 of you. He doffs his hat and lowers his head slightly, and he says, "Welcome. I believe you have spoken to my good brother Radagast. We have much to discuss, you and I. Much to discuss." And that, I think, is where we will bring this session to a close. I really wanted to get that as the ending of the session. So,
one thing
your boy Gandalf. It only took 50 days to find it.
I wanted to say that, like, when the Battle of 5 Armies moment happens and the cheer erupts, like, I'm imagining that River is probably standing next to Tawny, and she'll just kind of like surreptitiously grab his hand and squeeze it when that happens.
Clammy?
Oh no, no, you're not.
Clammy.
Clammy.
When Bard says that, he literally, I mean, even though he's got his mask on, he literally just kind of turns his head away and just like.
Yeah, I was gonna say the masks are not necessarily on yet, and you can put it on if you want.
Oh, his is.
Oh, okay, all right.
I promise you.
Gotcha.
His is.
Yeah. Okay, gotcha. I'm glad that you ended up deciding to go then, because that works out really nicely.
That's what the die rolls.
Yeah,
for.
no, I know.
Yeah.
I figured.
Even
I
he
figured.
goes odd, he doesn't. I was
Yeah.
gonna give it a 50-50.
Yeah. So very neat. So awesome stuff, folks. Festivals, markets, fairs, song contest, axe throwing, dwarf dominoes. It was all good. I will start as I usually do with the person right at the bottom of the column. And that, of course, is Amal. Wonderful stuff again, Amal, tonight. I really enjoyed sort of seeing how the River was kind of working through these contests and competitions. I really had this image that River's just like, this is fun. Like, I love these fairs. Like, it was just, a good time.
I mean, I figured she was having a good time, and so I feel like it was sort of, a sequence of many disappointing roles, but it also makes perfect story sense because they're in an unfamiliar place, in a place that is kind of a category difference from what she's used to in general. They have been wandering around Wilderland for years. Yeah. I mean, and never being in gatherings that are basically cities. So I have a sense of her being kind of like feeling very country bumpkinish and everything, and just kind of being a little dazzled by everyone. So it makes sense to me as well that, like, I mean, no one ever actually wins games that are at fairs. They are always, anyway, I'm sure they were not in fact rigged, but it still felt true to that, like that this posse of people who usually is actually very, very good at stuff would just kind of have a sequence of mediocre to whatever failures. But so like that, I liked the kind of withdrawing to just like, wait, no, I do actually know how to do this one thing. So like, I'm just going to do it.
And it was good. I actually got to go do some work. Basically. Yeah.
So no, I was glad of that. And also haggling. She should do more haggling. I think she's good at haggling.
Always more haggling.
So yeah, no, I super enjoyed that. And yeah, we'll look forward to. I extremely freaked out by Gandalf being there. I was not expecting that. I'm very happy.
Yeah. Battle of the Five Armies. He's back.
So yay, Gandalf! So yeah. Yeah. That's. I am also extremely hungry. So I'm looking forward to getting some lunch. But places people can find me on the internet. So usually a thing that I plug here is my Drip account, which is like it's sort of paid newsletter situation, but it's going the way of the dodo. It's going to be shuttered. It was initially, anyway, it's an annoying thing. It was run by Kickstarter. Kickstarter kind of orphaned it, and the people who were going to take it over have double orphaned it. So I am ditching Drip. It's going to shutter in September. So I have moved over to Substack. So if you want to follow me there, it is amal.substack.com. Otherwise, there's my website, amalmahtar.com, and you can find me on Twitter @Tithanai, and I will put all of those things in. In person, though, I am going to be at Worldcon in Dublin. So going to be there from August 15th to 19th. After that, I'm going to Glasgow. And I'm going to have a jaunt down to London for events on August 27th, which is a Tuesday. So I'm going to have a signing at Forbidden Planet in London and an event at Soho House, which I'm really looking forward to. And then there's going to be an event back in Glasgow at the Waterstones on Argyle Street that I'm also really looking forward to. I'll be in conversation with Hal Duncan, who's awesome. So that's me travel-wise for August. September, I'm going to be in New York, like I mentioned, from September 11th to the 13th at very least. So that's like a Wednesday through a Friday. I've got events happening on the 11th and the 12th. I think the 11th is McNally Jackson. There's an event there. And then the 12th is the Erewhon Literary Salon. So yeah, stuff. All these appearances and travels, they are not going to be over anytime soon. But yeah, so if you want to find me in any of those places, that would be great. And following me on Substack is a great way to keep all of the travel information in one place. Yeah, I've got this book out. I don't know if you heard, but there's a book.
Do you mean a book like this?
I co-wrote. It's a novella. It's about time-traveling super spies on opposite sides of a time war who start writing each other letters and begin a correspondence. So yeah.
Terry and I are doing this like random, just sort of like come down. Ooh, like it's like some bizarre presenter of like it is a beautiful book. Yeah, and I am very much looking forward to reading it. Thank you, Amal. Always a pleasure. And of course, you will see Amal next week, actually, if all is well. So we will be back here. So they'll only have a week to wonder what Gandalf is going to say to them, and all that kind of good stuff. But thank you, Amal. Always a pleasure. Moving right on up the line, Terry. Again, it was a lot of fun to see Inga in her element. I really was. I didn't know it was going to happen. I thought it was quite possible you could have beaten out Kala Stonebreaker and all that stuff. But
give her like a different name every time you mention her.
Kala.
Kana.
At the beginning you said Kana.
Did I say Kana?
Oh. Kana, then.
All right, Kana. Kana Stonebreaker.
She was so good. She was actually 3 people.
No,
The Stonebreaker part I got is the same every time. Kana Stonebreaker. Sorry. Yes, but anyway, you did well with that, and it was fun to sort of see you kind of going up in competition against her. How do you feel about today, and where will the fine folks see you next?
Today was fun. Feels a bit like the calm before the storm. Like, now we chill.
What
for
storm? Why would that?
Before like all shit breaks loose. Like we come to the Erebor, there's like a new dragon there. One that was like 5 times the size of Smaug.
Right. His name is Smogue. He's far, far bigger and more impressive. Where will the fine folks see you next?
Next Tuesday, I presume. I don't know.
Okay, yep.
Some of the Tuesdays, anyway. I'm never really sure what Tuesdays I'm on and which ones I'm not.
Yes, next Tuesday we'll be here, so we will definitely see you there. And you should be checking out Terry, also her illustration, drawing, her art as well. You will see more of that coming up soon when we do our next Gamebook illustration stream, which will probably wrap up the Sherlock Holmes, which will be in a couple of weeks, it looks like. So, but thank you, Terry. Always a pleasure. And thank you also for the resub, too.
Though, I'll leave up, I keep this all up and stuff.
Yep.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, thank you guys for having me.
Thanks, Terry.
Thanks for the fun game. Bye.
Bye-bye. See you soon. And moving right on up the line, we have, of course, Will. It's great to have you here as always, Will. And yeah, I was enjoying sort of the stuff with Robar and the bet and all the kind of like, good job. Like, was all really was really cracking me up, as well as sort of when, because I was curious about when the moment is going to come when you're like, no, really, I am a king type of thing. So how'd you feel about today, and where will the fun folks see you next?
Yeah, I had a great time today. It was great to watch everyone take part in their various competitions and Robar to bet or to try and assist. Looking forward to next week. Can't believe we got Gandalf in the mix, so we get to talk to the G-Man. Very, very excited for that. Very excited for Arv's version of Gandalf as well, and how much like or unlike Radagast he will be. So I'm excited for next week, and to reveal my royalty too.
I'm excited to reveal my royalty.
That's why I'm here. But yeah, I also have to run off here in a second, but you can follow me at EncounterRP, or you can follow Kerbal Press. I'm also doing stuff over there on the Twitch channel. I'm excited for next week. I'm glad we don't have to wait 2 or 3 weeks to play again. I'm looking forward to next week already.
Me too. Awesome.
Thank you for having me. But I'm gonna run off. Is it okay if I drop the call? It's gonna mess everything up.
Because I'll end the call pretty quickly after you're done. So
Okay.
It's okay if you can leave it up. I'll end it quickly.
Okay,
Thank you,
thanks.
Will,
Love
so
you
much.
guys. Bye.
Bye, Will. And last but certainly not least, of course, Tren. Always a pleasure, Tren. I know this time Tani did not get a lot, was by his nature kind of hanging out in the room, like doing his thing, which we expected. But you did get a couple things, the sort of intervention from Radagast, which, by the way, it doesn't say Tawny Bear do this. I mean, it's a note that was just, it had no address, actually. It was just written to somebody, and it was R. It could have been Robar writing you a letter that he attached to his pet hawk that you never heard of before. But who knows? But anyway, obviously it's going to be interesting to see how Tani handles everything going forward with all of these celebrations. So how'd you feel about today? Where will the lovely people see you next?
Well, for those who might have been worried that I was bored or whatever, I was not, because I got to watch all of these awesome things happening. Yes, exactly. And also, about maybe a third of the way into the session over on Twitter, one of those random accounts that like the account image is like a gigantic pair of breasts that are barely contained and thing. I just get, hello, how are you? And I'm like, oh good, one of these. So I'm like, hi. And so I keep dropping back to that conversation, and she is like, I'm looking for a man with. I'm like, so am I. I'm just.
I don't understand why you have conversations with these bots. I don't get it.
I love doing it. It's so much fun. And she's like, can I have your hangout name? I'm like, no. And that's my only response. She's like, I'd love to get things where we can talk privately. I'm like, no. And she's like, why not? I said, because I'm not interested and I don't trust you. And about 10 minutes later, a big block of text comes in saying what they're looking for. And I'm like, I'm not interested. And like, are you this kind of, because I'm not looking for this and this and this. And I'm like, good, because you're not going to get that from me. And I'm just, I love it. I love it so much.
So weird.
Oh, right. So the game. Yeah, I had a good time.
I was going to say, I was like, all right, that's through the mind of Trendane's Twitter, but
yeah, pretty much. It's like, she's like, no, I'm the one who sent the hawk. It's like, no, I don't care. It was like,
the mountainous pair of breasts.
Yeah, I was, and when I was thinking like, how is he going to deal with getting over to the opening ceremonies? And then Mal's like, I need 4 masks. I'm like, that will be it right there. That he's going to wear his mask the whole time.
That handles it.
I mean, that is exactly what River was thinking. It was
and
Otherwise, she wouldn't have spent a hard-earned gold coin on it. Otherwise, but yeah.
Yep.
And it was like just, if that had rolled an odd number, I would have been like, nope, he's gonna stay in the room.
Yeah.
And I was just it was down to that die roll, and me personally, I knew Gandalf was gonna show up.
Really?
I knew it.
I super did it.
Every time he says the word special magnificence and mentions fireworks, I know Gandalf is showing up.
I should definitely have paid attention to that. I should have known.
Lighten.
I did not think about it. I think I've had fireworks on the brain for some reason otherwise, but yeah, so.
But yeah, I had a great time. Really looking forward to the next time that I guess I'll be seen here, which is back here for this.
Yeah, I believe so.
Because we don't have D&D on Saturday.
Correct.
But yeah, just very much enjoyed it, and I'm probably gonna go back to conversations with.
Sigh.
What is her name? Florence Rosie.
Of course, that's her name.
Wow.
It doesn't surprise me at all that you're having this conversation.
I said, I'm not interested in a relationship with you. She's like, oh, okay. It's okay. Why? 3 separate things. And I'm like, I'm just going to start copy pasting because I'm not interested and I don't trust you. I'm just going to start doing this and just keep repeating it. Oh,
just
Do
breaking.
you think that bots ever like solicit other bots in a way that suddenly creates this just infinite chain of replies?
There's a story about that, and I can't remember the name of the story, but there's a story in which that happens, more or less, where there's basically 2 AIs that accidentally contact each other, and this whole thing is about that.
And there was another one where one contacted a guy, and it was like on the phone with like a speech synthesis bot and everything. He's like, just tell me you're not a robot. And she's like, why would I be a robot? And she never said, she just refuses to say that she's not a robot. She talks around it all the time, and he just keeps just jabbing at it. Just tell me you're not a robot.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's an incredibly hysterical.
It is. It's an interesting time that we live in for sure. Well, I am most grateful to everyone in the party. I was so happy to have the full crew back here, and it looks like, knock on wood, we'll have the full crew back next Tuesday as well. So I'm going to bid these fine people adieu because I got to get set up for my next stream, and then I got to go head off to Gen Con myself. So because I'm leaving this evening in a couple hours. So thanks so much to my lovely players. Can we get some love, everyone in chat, for Tren, for Will, for Terry, and for Amal. Lovely stuff, and I will see all of you wonderful folks next week right here. Thank you, and
Thanks
bye
so much.
for now. Oh. And that is going to do it for us for today, although it's not going to do it overall. It's just going to do it for me for this particular stream, because I'm going to be over at GOG in just about a half hour, a little over a half hour. Where I'm going to be continuing with Pathfinder Kingmaker. And as I mentioned, this is going to be only a 2-hour stream over there instead of a 3-hour, because I've got to leave after that and head off to... There we go. I got to leave after that, and then I got to head off to Gen Con, as I just said, so I've got to make that happen. But I want to thank everyone for being here. This was awesome. I really enjoyed today. It did feel, it was a different kind of a thing, which I really liked, sort of a calm before the storm type of thing, as Terry said, and I think it's really neat. So I cannot wait to see what happens with Gandalf and everyone else. But I hope everyone enjoyed themselves as well, and I hope that you will... Oh, really? That's interesting, Aerith. Yes, conclusion of Forbidden Library. So again, for those of you who don't know, I'm doing GOG. Then I'm going to be over on Friday. There's going to be no stream on Friday, or at least no official stream. There may end up being a stream that I may do if I'm like walking around the exhibit hall or something like that. I don't yet know. But I'm going to be, at the very least, I'm going to be... it's not going to be official stream on Friday. Saturday, there will be an official stream, which will be the live stream of the closing adventure of the Forbidden Library trilogy, which we're calling Beyond the Forbidden Library, with the original 6 players. Very excited about that. We're going to have an audience, including Hilness and many others in the audience. So very excited about that. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm pretty sure, I have a sense that Hilness will. I'm pretty confident. I feel like I have a couple of spoilers in that regard. We will see. But Anyway, but if anyone is going to Gen Con, please come say hi, and all that kind of good stuff. And please spread the word about this show. Don't forget about the ways to support the show. Follow the channel, check out the YouTube with !ArvTube, the Discord with !ArvCord. Make sure to check out the Twitter with !ArvTweets. Website for all this is arvaneleron.com. Please make sure to, on the financial side, if you're able to check out the Patreon, !ArvTreon, which is sitting right there. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I think I may have missed this because I didn't reload it, but yeah, so we're up to 324 because I think I saw that Hilness actually popped the number back up so that he could get back into the inspirational area. So thank you, Hilness. I appreciate that very much, man. So we're at 324, which is great. So let's continue to move that up in the right direction. Remember, good things for you and good things for the channel. The shop, !Arv shop, so you can get some of that awesome Adventures of Middle-earth drawing and illustration, the Terrytoons. So that was, yeah, thank you, Hilness. I appreciate that, man. The Terrytoons did. That's going to be great. And again, you can get shirts and hats and all that kind of good stuff. So please consider doing that. And then last, but that's !Arv shop for that. And then last, but certainly not least, is that sub button. We had a couple of people jump on board with subs. I think we're now sitting at about 58 subs, something like that, I believe. Ooh, that's really cool. I don't know. So we're going to be doing that. And please make sure to jump on board. If you did already, thank you. And if not, please consider doing so. Otherwise, I'm going to see you folks over on GOG at about top of the hour, 4 p.m. Eastern. And then I will be off the grid. Well, not off the grid. I'll probably be tweeting, but I'll be off Twitch anyway until probably Saturday, maybe Friday informally, but otherwise definitely Saturday. And then I'll be back normally, relatively normally next week. Otherwise, I want to thank everyone who made this an awesome stream. Thank you to my wonderful mods, Aradinel, Hilness, Terrytoons, and thank you so much for doing your awesome mod work today. Thank you as well to my subscribers, Aradinel, Hilness, Terrytoons, Nonstop, Coven Guy, Arendt, and Trendane. Great stuff from everybody. Thank you so much for subbing, and Tren and Terry, thank you so much for the wonderful play today, as well as, of course, Will, Encounter Roleplay, and, of course, Amel. Thank you to my wonderful viewers, Angel of Light, Commander Root, Cyclemotion, EA, what's up, EA? EKEG, Genli, Gorgar. Thank you to Icy Kitsune for the follow today. Thank you to Lurks, Mex. Thank you to Mubat, I guess. Thank you to Marinda, as always. Marinda, who, of course, contributed some of the character backgrounds for the Forbidden Library, so thank you about that. Thank you to Mr. Aridin. Thank you to Okiran, to Ripfar. Thank you to Size 16s for the host and also for checking us out. Good to see you, Size, as always. Thank you to Slow Cool. Thank you to Stay Hydrated Bot for always keeping me hydrated. Thank you to you, Christensen. Thank you to V&K. Thank you to Virgo Praz. And thank you to Zaneki Bear. Always a pleasure. Also, I hope you feel better, Coven Guy. Hang in there. But that's going to do it for me. I am going to close up shop here and play that video. And then I will see all of you lovely people over at GOG at 4 p.m. Eastern. Thanks, everybody. More Day 50 of Adventures of Middle-earth, where they meet Gandalf next week. But for now, stick around for some Adventures of Middle-earth. Sorry, we just did Adventures of Middle-earth. Stick around for GOG and Pen and Pixels coming up in just a little bit. Until I talk to you next time, everyone be good to each other. Have a good one.